Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. I am Peter. You guys, we are back for another episode review. Episode 2, season 6, part 1, called The Prize. And joining me on the review, as always, is not a leaky faucet, not a white noise static on the screen. It's a watch party. How you doing, sir?
Would you say I'm the prize?
Yeah, I would say,
The
absolutely.
prize.
I would say you're the prize, sure, absolutely.
I am
Um,
your prize listener for listening to this episode. Thank
there we go. Yes, yes. Here he is, wrapped in I don't know, a ribbon of sorts,
you.
a
A
tie.
ribbon with
I,
a television or something.
I
I don't
I
know.
was gonna say a bow tie, but that doesn't. How do you put a bow tie on a TV screen? I don't think you
It's got to be a
can.
very big one. It just wraps
Yeah,
around. Yeah.
maybe one that just sticks like an adhesive. So instead of like
Yeah. Oh,
kind of
that
a clip
works too. Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah. Like
Instead of clip on, it's
stick
just
on.
adhesive.
Yeah.
Stick on. All right. So what are we here for? We're going to talk again. Yes. Episode 2. So let's just throw some things out there at the top here. A little house cleaning. Let's start with something. They're all pretty. I'd say about the same scale. I was about to say let's start with the biggest news, but they're all kind of big. Just kind of depending. It's subjective, right? So. Let's start with our friends in the Down Under, right? So there's a couple screenings here in Australia with one Martin Cove for the Karate Kid's 40th anniversary. So I have a site here, orpheum.com.au. And I'm sure if you just Google like Australia, Martin Cove, Karate Kid, it'll pop up, but it's going to be in November. And basically, you're going to do a screening. Martin Cove will be in attendance, and I believe there is a Q&A after that. Photo ops, autographs, memorabilia, according to their website. So check that out if you are in Australia and have the means to go. Really great opportunity. I love that. We
Huh.
haven't. I don't think I've had anything. I can't remember the last few years at all where you're actually watching a screening with any of the cast members. I think this is a first. I mean, like in the
Of
last
the
few
movie.
years.
Of the movie. Yeah.
Yes,
There
of the
was
movie.
the
I'm sorry.
screening. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of the
yeah, yeah.
show.
The screening of the 40th
But
anniversary of the Karate Kid movie.
this all raises an interesting question.
Mm,
If a man confronts you on the street, you show him no mercy. But what
right?
if a kangaroo confronts you on the street?
I mean, like okay, so kangaroos they box, right? So
Mm.
I think a great man once say play karate games, win karate prizes. So I think boxing also
Ah,
applies. So if
it's
if
true.
a kangaroo approaches you and wants to box and potentially strikes first, I think you have every right to strike back. I don't
Do
know.
you think the
Does
kangaroo
PETA, do they
trained at Miyagi's gym?
I think they go to Koala Kai.
Oh, koala.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm gonna call back to the interview with Dallas, right?
yeah.
So Martin Cove, it all circles back to that. Check out the Dallas interview if you guys missed out on that one.
Hmm.
A lot of fun. So that's one news out of the way. The other one that is in more a recent or not recent in more near future is going to be Geek Week. Netflix Geek Week 2024. A lot of information will be coming out in I think 3 days is it 3 days? Does that sound right?
If it's the top of next week, yeah, that would be
Ye-
about 1 week before the Geek Week
oh
starts, right?
no, no. How long does it last for? The actual Geek Week.
Oh, isn't
I
it
feel
like 4 days, 5 days?
so a few days. I
Yeah.
don't have it up right now, but that's when a lot of different shows, Cobra Kai, Worst X Ever, Selling Sunset, Wednesday, a lot of things will come out. What the
Squid Game.
like the
Yeah.
new yes, Squid
Yeah.
Game, yes. What the news outlets have been reporting is they're calling it like surprises, right? Like that's kind of the language they've
Mm,
been using. So it could be anything,
God.
just some sort of content, teaser, trailer. We don't know, but Cobra Kai is among that list, and so they will be streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, and I think on X, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll keep our ears peeled, or all of those, right? Like, so whatever we find out, we will be sharing. If
Yeah.
it's like worthy of an episode, we'll probably do a real quick one. If not,
Yeah,
most people
best case scenario, some sort of teaser. Worst case scenario, I don't know, like a
behind the scenes, inside
yeah,
look.
behind the scenes of part one or like bloopers from part one.
It could be
Some people
anything.
enjoy bloopers. There's nothing wrong with that, but like that, not let's just say worst case scenario, no part two content. That's
Really? You don't think so? You don't think part two
that would be
content?
worst case.
Oh,
Worst
worst
case
case.
scenario.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was like, oh, what if they do this? But I think it would make more sense to hold off on this. And what I was thinking was, oh, we're probably gonna get um the introduction, maybe we start with Tori, but then the introduction to the international fighters that we will see in part two,
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
promos. And so, like
hmm.
maybe it'll start off with Tori because it's like, well, that was the last character that we have not yet seen a promo for in terms of like talking about the Sekai Taikai, whatever. And now that we know like Quan and like Chung Hee, some of these characters, maybe they show up at the very least, like, a Quan. Maybe we
Yeah.
get a promo of his, um, and anybody else that I don't know. But I'm just like, what are they gonna do with the one with Peyton List, right? Like, there's no way. I think even Lone Lobos, I believe they might have even mentioned that. Yeah, Peyton, filmed a promo. I feel I saw that somewhere. I didn't see it, or
Maybe.
hear it myself. I think I saw somebody mention that somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
so that's probably still out there somewhere, and it would make sense to release it with like other characters. But so anyway, we'll see then. Obviously, once we get to part two, we'll think more about it then. But yeah, I think a teaser, with like very
Mhm.
little behind the scene footage, kind of like what they did with Inside the Dojo Part One. So we can probably expect a part two and part three coming up. And then the biggest, I would say, of the three news here, this next one is the biggest of them all. Coming to you in 2025, specifically May 30th to June 1st, is it Whippany, New Jersey? I
I don't know. I'm not
I
from
don't know.
Jersey. I don't.
Well, it's closer to you for sure, because I'm on the West Coast. But yeah, my apologies if I mispronounced it. But it's a sort of like a Cobra Kai Comic Con, and so it's brought to us by Creation Entertainments, and a lot of actors have already been announced, and the details are on creationent.com, and you could do a search for Cobra Kai. But yeah, a lot of people are excited. I've never been to a Creation Entertainment event. I know some other people have. But anyway, some of the information is up on their website if that is something you're interested in. A lot of people are starting to plan for it already. You got a little, gosh, let's say 3/4 of a year. But you have some time to save up, if that's something that you can go to. And this is also going to be like at the very least right now, as of all the things that have been announced, this is going to be the first thing with the cast post part three. Well, you know what? We're assuming if it does come out before May, I don't think it's going to come out any like last second quarter of next year.
I think this show will be done. I think.
Yeah, yeah. May is a really long wait for 2025 for part three, so that's pretty
Yeah.
much the assumption there. So I think we're good there. Anything else you can think of, Watch Party, before we get on into the Satu?
Um. No, it's been pretty quiet from the creators, more or less. So yeah, nothing.
I hate it was
Nothing
pretty
coming.
loud a few days ago talking about dog shitting, like out in public.
If that's loud, yeah.
Loud.
I think somewhere John had mentioned they were um kind of finishing up the editing of the part three.
Hmm.
They've gotten some, they're not done yet, but they're kind of working there. So it makes me think part two may be essentially done by now, which probably stands to reason because the marketing's going in full force. Uh,
Yeah. And during his latest Q&A, I forgot when that came out, but he did mention he had already seen the finale, and basically, I'm paraphrasing it. He was like, pretty proud of the way it came out and how they ended it.
Yeah.
So yeah, really looking
Yeah.
forward
It
to it.
was an early draft. It's not done, but yeah, like
Correct.
an early
Yeah.
cut.
I don't know if he saw my response, but I did say like, hey, you have my phone number, so like John, if you're listening, feel free to share that with me. I'll give you my editor notes.
If you need a
I
shoulder
think
to cry on,
that too.
cry
Absolutely
on
right.
Peter's, not mine. I don't.
If it's too emotional, I'll be that shoulder. All right, here we go. Let's get into the prize. Again, this is yes, season 6, episode 2 of part 1. This was directed by Joel Novoa, and I
Say
do have
season 6, part 1, episode 2. Because if you say
ah
season 6, episode 2, part 1, it sounds like episode
right.
2 is a
Right, there's
two-parter.
two-parters.
Yeah, you
Did I
did
do
that
that
at the beginning
earlier?
too. Yeah,
Okay,
you did.
okay. Yeah, okay. I gotta figure that out. I type it just fine, I think, in social media. I guess it's like saying it on the fly with
I think you could
nothing to
drop
look
the
at.
part 1. I just say season 6,
It's
episode
part.
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because they're not gonna do like a part 2 episode.
Yeah,
One.
and once they're all out, it's
It's
all
all
just season.
season 6. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's directed by Joel Novoa, who's been on a number of times, and
Hmm.
also an upcoming interview. And
Ooh.
written by writing duo Joe Pirelli and also Luan Thomas.
Hmm.
And what was the last one that they was the last one they wrote Molea, or was there no, they
No,
also
no, no,
did a
no, no. They wrote Bad Eggs.
seven.
Bad Eggs in season
Oh, bad. Oh,
5.
yeah,
Their most recent
seven, episode
episode. Yeah.
7, episode
Yeah,
7.
that is
Okay,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, there we go. Okay, that's right. All right. So let's just start off at the top. What do you think of this episode?
Um, it is probably the weakest of part 1. The first 5 episodes. Mostly because, as we'll get into it, I think there's mostly low stakes storylines.
Mm,
And I'll expand as we get into that.
yeah, I like the episode better in chunks. Like if like in the I watched it earlier today as well, and I was kind of focusing more on like I guess like the characters and what the scene means to them. So I try to think of it a little less like critically in terms of like my thoughts for a review,
Hmm.
and I was just kind of watching it like on surface, just like just taking it in. I was like, I kind of like it better that way. And so like the stuff with like Master Kim and Kreese in the cave, it's something that I was like, I'm not sure if I needed this kind of thing. And I was really questioning, I kind of understand, or at least I feel like I understand like what is going on for this character, but
Hmm.
also I was trying to question like I wonder what they were thinking in the writer's room in presenting this to us. Like, is it the like, well, we have an opportunity to make Master Kim real. Like we've heard about him, the show him,
Hmm.
and but also like, did we
And
need that? And
that's
then
the biggest reveal or surprise of the episode. Obviously, is
yeah,
Master Kim. Um,
right. And so there was stuff like that, and then like the school stuff, like I didn't mind it. I did start to kind of get like a more nostalgic feeling for like the first 3 seasons, just seeing kind of that group in a school setting, even though it's a different location kind of thing. So I was
mhm,
starting to get a little nostalgia with that, and so I was starting to enjoy that a little bit more.
mhm.
And here's something I didn't think I would say. Crank It Up is I'm kind of warming up to it. Still don't love it. I don't think I ever will love it, but at least I remember the first few times we anytime we come up it comes up. It's like not my favorite needle drop, but I've come around to it, and I do want to know, and I haven't done the research, so I do. There is another song playing in the background, and it's one of those things that like I keep forgetting to go back and look, but is it? Um, is during the school, and I don't know if it's like an 80s song or is it contemporary or more modern. It's just something
Don't
that's
ask
playing.
me.
Yeah, it's just behind dialogue, so like it's hard to
Mhm.
hear. But I'm like, you know what? What's that one? I like that one. And so I
Mm,
need to go back and find out. But and
yeah, maybe in
what?
the end credits.
Yeah, I
If the-
think if I can say like the biggest question mark, I don't love the location for Master Kim and his dojang and all of that. Like it, where is there a building? You know, like instead of his like little hut in the forest or whatever it is, like I almost feel like they just live in the mountains or something, you know, like why couldn't we
Yeah.
have an actual
Like
dojo?
when everyone goes home at night, like
Yeah,
where do they go? I mean, surely these students don't all live there in that.
like do they sleep? Because they are literally like, you know, doing
Yeah.
karate all day. You know,
Mhm.
he could have showed up like 2 in the morning. We don't know. We know it was at nighttime. Like they're still working. Like none of them are ever eating. And so like I was just thinking about this earlier today. Why would I want a building, right? Like why did I even think about that? It's like, well, I feel you could tell more stories with the set dressings, right? Like that's how we learn about Kreese with the way he dresses his Cobra Kai and stuff like that. You can learn more with those things. But when you're out in the forest, all you have nothing out there to give you any
I have an
backstory.
answer to this. I'll get to it when we get to it, which
Okay,
is going to be
okay.
pretty early in the
So let's
episode.
do that. So let's
Okay.
do that. Okay, so all right. And as always, again, kind of continuing the tradition, Amy provided the synopsis for this episode. Okay, she says, Mercy in showing it or not showing it is a running thread in this episode for all of the characters, particularly Kreese. After reuniting with Sensei Kim, he's surprised to learn that Master Kim is still alive and running the show. Since she put MK. Oh, Martin Cove's entire vibe is harshly judging people. He's not impressed with what Kreese. Oh, Master Kim. Okay, so she put since MK's entire vibe. At first, when I saw MK, I was like Mortal Kombat. Oh, Martin Cove, and then I keep going on. I'm like, no, she means Master Kim.
Amy writes in code sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, you
Well,
gotta
she wrote
unlock.
Master Kim the sentence before, so like she already
Mhm.
introduced MK, and so like
Mhm.
anyway, just me being me. Um, his entire vibe is harshly judging people. He's not impressed with what Kreese is selling, but he still sends him on a quest to retrieve a relic and prove himself worthy. Kreese's journey quickly takes him back. No, I'm sorry, takes him to the cave of poor decisions. And she capitalized it, the cave of poor decisions, where he unwisely tries to reason with a venomous snake, gets bit, and goes on an emotional journey, confronting his demons. When he comes out on the other side, he's metaphorically killed his biggest weakness and literally cut off the
The
head of a
snake's
snake.
head.
Yep.
Yeah, the head of a snake.
At the Diaz home, we are reminded that Miguel's dream is to go to Stanford, and after their apartment is made unlivable when a pipe bursts, that they can't afford to send Miguel to Stanford. We are also reminded that Johnny's credit score is probably non-existent when he attempts to find a bigger place for the Lawrence Diaz family to live. Chosen tries to help him house hunt, but no amount of Netflix real estate shows will prepare you for the fact that Johnny is his own worst enemy. After they piss off the only realtor in South Racine.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
there's one cop and one realtor. Chosen gives Johnny the pep talk he needs to use words instead of fists at the next open house. Fortunately, the owner of of this house grew up idolizing high school prom king John Lawrence and promises that if he can get his finances in order, he can help him out with a future home. How does Johnny do this? By walking into LaRusso Auto in his Dwight Schrute, is it Schrute suit? Dwight Schrute? Is that how you say it from The Office?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
there you
never
go.
watched that.
Yeah, same. Carrying his dumpster briefcase and immediately selling a car. He's hired. And we probably just lost a lot of fans. After getting the hard sell on safety schools at a college fair, Miguel and the Binary brothers head to a local college for a tour and run into Brooks and Kyler. A wacky sitcom misunderstanding has Dimitri obsessing over how Brooks could possibly be attending MIT. He's not, and we learn Kyler is at the bottom of the food chain in the fraternity he's pledged. Miguel learns that the leaders of the frat have no intention of accepting Kyler and are humiliating him for fun. This doesn't go over well with him. When they are forced to confess this, Kyler takes it about as well as you'd expect, and karate brawl ensues. Because he always lands on his feet, he's embraced by another frat for standing up to those assholes. And that's what she has. So thank you, Amy, for that,
Very good.
as always. Okay, so like she says, at the top of the episode, let's see. I have we open up with a flashback with Kreese and Silver in Korea, and my immediate note after this was like it almost sounds like Thomasine Griffith saying it. I feel they might have meshed the two. Did you get the sense of that at all?
No,
Where
not
he's
at all.
yeah, it was something like hey Johnny or hey John, come on or something like that. And so like
Oh,
every time I
the
hear it,
younger.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, right. Before it is revealed that it's a flashback, like
Hmm.
because I think they're
Right.
kind of like doing the
For
like
some reason,
the
I knew it was a flashback immediately.
I did too. I think just because it's like, well, that's clearly Kreese talk, or I'm sorry, Silver talking to Kreese,
Hmm.
and we know that they're not together yet, right? Because we just saw Kreese
Yeah.
in at
Hmm.
the end in the first episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else like thinks that to reach out, let me know. Maybe it's just me, but it does appear they've completed training and are getting ready to leave. But Kreese wants to say goodbye to one more person. They approach
Yeah.
as Master.
For what it's
Yeah,
worth,
yeah,
I'm assuming this is picking up just after where they were talking back in 508. Like I
yes.
assumed it was the same day, maybe.
Oh, the same. Okay, I knew it was
Like
soon, not too long after.
yeah, because like
Be
I thought yeah, that was just the impression I got. I didn't I com completely compare the clothes, but like yeah, because I thought like they were just they were done training and they were just resting a little, and that's when he was talking about the Sakai Takai, and now like I mean, I guess you could say maybe it's the next day or something, but yeah,
maybe
I
the
assumed
next
it's
day.
definitely like shortly after
It
that.
could be because I don't remember exactly what Silver was wearing, but I know he was dressed a little bit more like Karate Kid 3 Silver with an ascot, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
mistaken, right?
yeah,
And so yeah, I like in my head canon, I'm thinking like, oh, that was kind of like their farewell, and that's why like maybe Silver was dressed up that way, and
yeah.
then the
Hmm.
next day they leave, so they're more kind of wearing like comfortable clothing to for their travels.
For
Because I
the
thought
trip, yeah,
yeah, they it looked like they were leaving a little unceremoniously. Like you were there to train
yeah,
and you completed your training, right? Like Master
yeah.
Kim's not even there to see you off, so
Well,
I
they already
wonder,
had the ceremony.
right? So do you think like they also got like the little farewell from Master Kim, or do you think it's just like, well, you're done. Good luck to you.
Yeah, it's probably the latter.
Yeah.
I don't think Master Kim throws people a party for training at his dojo, you know.
Especially if he doesn't think you're like that good of a student, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, they approach as Master Kim is instructing a class, and Kree sees little. I put Dayun observing in her usual spot.
Hmm.
It's it's a little. I guess you have to sit here and kind of think about their dynamic a little bit. But I know that when addressing Master Kim, Kree stills call Dayun Kim, but that's like their surname. So it's
Does he
like
call her, refer to her as Kim?
he does. I think
Oh,
it's
he
like
does
present
once.
time.
In fact, I remember
Yeah,
thinking about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
there's
he's
one
like, well,
spot in the
Kim.
line in the
Hmm.
dialogue. He refers to her as Kim. You're right. I forget
Right.
where precisely it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think it's when he's basically I think before
but
he
isn't
gets
it? No,
hit
isn't it
with the
older
cane.
Kreese?
Yeah. It's older
Yeah,
case.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's when he gets hit
Okay.
with the cane.
It's it. Yeah,
I may have it as a note. I may,
yeah,
but
I think so.
it's just
But
one
it's
of those
not in
things.
this scene.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying because in my note I already have it as Dayun,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is her Korean name. So yeah, there's just kind of a lot of questions. Definitely overthinking it, kind of thing. And so he does wave to her, and my next question or my question to you is, did Kreese give her away? Like she kind of waves back, and that's when her grandfather catches her. I mean, the pink gi didn't give her away, or
No, I don't think so. I think maybe maybe he knew she was there.
but the fact that
Or
Kreese is there or something, this is kind of
yeah,
interrupting.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Because she
because
wasn't very well hidden. I don't know.
no, she's not. Yeah, again, if she's like kind of moving around and she's wearing pink, like that kind of sticks out a little bit. Because
Yeah.
like this, like if her grandfather knew, why is he now just like smacking her with the discipline device, in front of these
The
people
bamboo
for
stick, isn't it?
for watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
think. this is probably like the reason that she used what she used like in season 5 against like Tori and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a little like
I
getting the
just thought,
backstory.
yeah. So I don't know. I could have used a little bit more of them rather than this kind of being like the first time we see grandfather and granddaughter together. I mean, I know it's a flashback, and like I guess it's just the first of hopefully many, that we'll see a little bit more. Um, yeah, because I'm really curious about that dynamic. There's no mention of her parents, anything like that too. So
Well, since you brought it up, I mean, like, do you think this is the Kreese from the movies? That's like a common comment people have made since at least the season 5 flashback. Does this feel like the Kreese from the movies? This Kreese here, who's like stepping in and defending her.
that's a good question. I've never thought about that. My almost my like my first like immediate response is no. It's a different
Yeah,
crease.
yeah. I mean, it. That's how a lot of people say it. I mean, I thought it through, and I my assumption is the show has built a crease that seems to be sympathetic to people in a certain circumstance, specifically people who maybe lost their parents or had some sort of tragedy like that. As we learned in season 3, his mom had committed suicide after presumably, some mental struggles that were definitely a very tough toll on his life. And I'm assuming now Kim Dayoon's parents died. We don't know how, it's not explained. It's ultimately not important to the story. They're dead, so she has to live with grandfather, Kim's son Young. And but like Kreese, of course, knows her parents are died, and she's going through this. Her grandfather's a tough guy, and so he feels that same protective towards her that he felt towards Tori and maybe anyone who was ever in a situation like that. That's and it's we never saw it in the movie because it never came up. So
Yeah, see that question has now got me like questioning the other characters. Like, because
mhm,
these other guys, they're not, they're all more fleshed out, right? More,
mhm,
three-dimensional and stuff. They have a lot more layers and stuff. So
mhm,
yeah, these are all just
mhm.
kind of, yeah, different versions.
Yeah. I
Oh
would say
man,
it doesn't. I think if we take it like this, it doesn't contradict the movie. It works with the movie. It's just a side of Crease we didn't know because in the movie that never specifically came up.
right. Yeah. Because in this part, like the Master Kim also, I guess he's told her before, you cannot be here. This is for students only.
Mhm,
Yeah. So what did you think about? Because he came to say goodbye,
mhm.
and like she's supposed to be hiding from her grandfather. So it's like it's not his fault. He got her in that situation.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah,
Because
Crease.
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that we probably shouldn't be questioning it, but definitely Darth Vader vibes here. In my note, I say, let's see what I say.
Darth Vader,
Uh,
the Emperor. It's
well,
the Emperor vibes.
I mean, this is where you know the lore and the characters a lot better than me. But uh, and the other thing I put is like, he grabs her by the throat, so she's eye level, as
Mhm,
you do.
mhm, mhm,
Questions if she's afraid. She shakes her head
mhm.
no, and I guess that was enough to convince her to allow her to start training. He puts
Yeah,
her back
fear does
down.
not exist in this Dojang, so now
Yeah,
she's
so
ready.
lesson for whole life. So we
Yeah.
kind of skipped it. You were kind of alluding to it, the whole circumstantial, right? Like he chose mercy, like so it's not something that it's not a code that he lives by. There's like an asterisk to that no mercy, and I think that's where Master Kim has a problem,
Right,
right?
right.
Like,
And I think
yeah,
it's a very key line. And I may even make a video on this at some point.
a
Um,
lesson for whole life, or the
no, no,
line
no, no,
about
no.
the
What Kreese says,
yeah,
because Kreese or Kim Sun Young says to Kreese, you are like you must not be a good student if you come here asking for mercy. And Kreese responds, I don't show when the circumstances call for it, I don't show mercy. Um, like which is an interesting um caveat, I guess, like
yeah,
that we've
yeah,
never heard before. Like when the circumstances call for it, I don't show mercy.
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
I don't know.
I
It's a little different. Even Johnny Lawrence Cobra Kai
John Lawrence.
sometimes show mercy. Remember in season 2 he says that, and it's kind of an interesting caveat. So I think Kreese here he's asking for mercy um on behalf of Dayun.
Yeah.
The you know
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah
I'm just looking over the dialogue too
yeah
because in Korean, I believe he says, okay, he tells her also, you will stop hiding and begin training tomorrow. So maybe if she confronted him and was like, I want to train, maybe that speaks more volumes than like hiding and trying to learn in the shadows.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Something like that. All right, then we cut to the Diaz's, and Miguel is reading a letter he has written to Stanford. Everyone's emotional here. Now, I didn't go to college. What is this letter? They kind of mentioned it too. It's like I'm trying to find the language. Um, I
Well, college, any almost any college requires any series of essays. Like usually, it's some sort of personal statement.
yeah,
Some require more than one, I think, but you know, you know, personal say it could be anything. About you. What are we gonna do? And I mean, does that clarify for you just like what is going Stanford mean to you, or just what is anything? It doesn't even have to be
right.
like it could be a personal statement about, winning a karate tournament, a personal statement about spelling bee when you were in fifth grade. It's just supposed to be, something you kind of show yourself off in some way on how you're unique and would be
Yeah,
great for the Stanford community
it's
or
like
whatever
something a little bit
university.
about your character. Is for
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
them to learn a little bit more about you.
I will
Yeah.
tell you this, my friend who went to Stanford Law, actually,
Oh,
he had to write some sort of essay. I mean, it's not an undergrad admissions, but he did it for, he literally wrote about how he was on a train, like train once in the city, like going to work or coming for whatever. And like the train had to stop because, someone died on it.
oh,
Like they
okay.
found out someone was died and they had to like stop and they called like a code over the thing or something. I don't know. It's just like that was like something he got in, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah, I would think
Writing
it's like the
about
law.
like yeah. But like that's an idea of like here's something that happened in my life that was really weird or really unique.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's getting emotional, including Robbie. It could be a lot of different things. I mean, he does mention that, it's not like he's applying to Stanford or anywhere else really. So he's, obviously undecided about his future. And here he is kind of hearing like in Miguel's own words, like what going to Stanford is going to mean to him and things
Mhm.
of this nature. So, yeah, everyone's emotional. Johnny has a moment where he even says like, go for the juggler at the end. Don't be begging for you to go there. So he's really supportive.
Mhm.
I love seeing
Mhm.
that. This is where we get waterworks, and no, it's not because of tears. Yeah, at first I thought it was, but it was just like man, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, that's an awfully lot of tears, And then obviously we find out that like the pipes had broken just above them,
Mhm.
coming from like I guess the tenant upstairs or something. So this is all part of like, these are things that Johnny's gonna have to work harder for towards, right? Like his family, and obviously they are gonna need something bigger than like the one bedroom apartment, even though they both, the two families. It's like it's not necessarily like a two-bedroom apartment because even though they live close, it's across away from each other.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here.
So
The other, yeah,
setting the plot is basically
right.
this whole,
How do you
getting
feel
along.
about like in this episode, you kind of hear it a little bit more, or at least kind of the start of it, but like coming from a dialogue coming from Johnny and Daniel, it's like they have these problems, but Brett, you're not the Sekatakai, like when we win is going to take care of all of this, right? Like that's how do you feel about that? Like they are kind of almost no plan B kind of thing. Like it's either this or bust.
Um,
You get a sense of that at all, like
yeah, yeah,
with some of
well,
Johnny's
yeah, and
troubles?
that's almost a direct line from Johnny when he's talking to Carmen. Um, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, he definitely it's putting it all. He's just very confident, you know. I guess, yeah.
Right.
I don't know what else. I mean, yeah, it is all that. I wouldn't say he has no secondary plan because Johnny can always be a karate teacher with or without the Sekai Taikai,
Yeah, that's true.
but yeah, he
Yep.
just thinks that's like going big time.
Right. I mean, it's going to be obviously a bump in the sponsorship and all of these things. So makes a call and somebody named Sully, I'm assuming the product manager or something. We're gonna have
Hmm.
to fix that. And then there is one part here where Johnny and Carmen are talking, and Miguel overhears them talking about, them not really having the money, and obviously this is gonna affect Miguel's decision on potentially where he goes to school next year. So that
But
will come.
he knows they don't have the money. No one has the money for Stanford.
That's
So
true.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like that was always going to be like a CG. I don't know. It's just like it's not my favorite storyline, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Carmen mentions that the tournament is months away, so that's one
Right,
of
right.
those like, well, we don't know exactly how long, but soon, soon enough. Um, let's see, we cut to Kreese reuniting with Sensei Kim
Hmm.
in Korea, and he reminds her about the good times and that. See, so that's the hard part when you're going. I wouldn't want them going back and forth. So like you got to give it to us in dialogue, right? Like, I don't know if I want to see like more of young Freeze and young Kim bonding. Um, so like these things that we learn, even when your grandfather's idea of trading was more like torture, So we get some more backstory, but I'm still like I'm not. I feel like I'm not sold
It's
yet
not
on
really
Master Kim.
backstory. It's mostly just like catching the two characters up.
Yeah,
Because
I
we
suppose.
learned, which we kind of already knew, she came to America looking for Kreese, but got caught up with Terry Silver. But he's
Who's gone now?
gone, and
Hmm.
yeah, and then,
Yep.
but then I like how Kreese knows that they earned a spot in the Sekai Tech, which is like, what wasn't he in jail when
Well,
all that happened and
word
all this?
words was on the
But
street,
well, I
So,
just like what I think even Hurwitz said once when everyone asked, "How did Kreese know Cobra Kai won the All Valley at the end of season one?" And it's just like he's very tapped into the karate world. Like,
oh, he has tweet tech with
yeah,
Cobra Kai
yeah,
on notification. That's really what it
right,
was.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so like, since it can't, she'd be down for this, but it's not up to her.
not up to
And
her. And by the way,
yep,
this was a preview scene, which kind of gave away Master Kim coming back
right, right. Yeah. It
even before. I'm
yeah.
sorry, I had to get that off my
Oh yeah, no
chest
problem. Yeah,
yeah.
Martin Kove was on a on
Because I always say Netflix
news.
gives stuff away. Like they say they don't, but like Netflix gave it away to anyone who was even bothered to pay attention. That
But yeah,
yes,
I was
Kim Sun
surprised.
Young is still alive.
The clip was shown on one of the news stations in LA,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
a lot of people
Right.
saw.
Exactly.
Um, let's see. Then so yeah, we see basically Master Kim, who kind of looks a little bit like maybe not David Lopan, but David Lopan is old. You get that reference? David Lopan, does that mean
Nope.
anything to you? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Big Trouble in Little China. Still
Oh.
nothing.
Oh,
So
it's still nothing. I don't think I've seen that
okay.
movie, but
Okay,
I
yeah.
know of it.
There's a character that looks really old. Probably looks like 150 years old.
Hmm.
Gray beard, very skinny, wheelchair. And then in his spiritual form or magic form, whatever it is, he's this like 7 foot, a mythical figure and is, youthful and all that. So it's just like, oh, he must have tapped into that David Lopan youth, or
Hmm.
that he's still alive. But anyway, we cut to the school where it is a let's see, a college fair. It's
Hmm.
funny too because like I guess it's said over the PA, seniors are invited to the student center for a lunchtime college fair, and like I didn't even really get that it was like during lunch or anything like that. I was just like, oh, cool, that's awesome. They do that for the seniors, but I
Yeah,
do
high schools
like.
do stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. This line never really stuck out to me, but there's like Dimitri and Eli are walking, and
Eli, who's that?
Eli Hawk, right? Well, he's
Oh,
being called
oh,
Eli.
Hawk. Oh, I
Yes,
don't know why you called him Eli.
Spikes.
Spikes, yeah, his new
We call him
name,
Spikes. Um,
alternate name.
yeah. So let me see. At one point, Sam's got a few brochures, and Miguel asks, or he points that out, and she says not to worry. At least three are close to Stanford. I feel like Sam would be the type to also kind of have it narrowed. I mean, I guess she's looking at options, right? But I feel like she would kind of have like some really specific schools in mind,
Yeah, but
the,
they have a Stanford plot line for Miguel. They have an MIT plot line for
mm,
the Binary Brothers. It's like, well, they don't want to add a third one. It'll just muddle things up.
where's MIT? Okay, is that on the east?
Massachusetts
Massachusetts.
Institute of Technology.
Is that what that stands for? Did not know that. Okay,
Yes.
all right. Oh, see, I'd be learning. Should have gone to college, maybe MIT.
Ah, yeah.
Doesn't-
You learn acronyms.
Uh, anyway, so Dimitri, he's got this line that keeps going over my head. And it's about they are fumbling around our dresses trying to cop a feel of our tantalizing brains. And that's when like Sam
Yeah.
says, okay, that's where I leave you. But anyway, that like I feel people aren't talking about that enough, or has anyone talked about like, the Dimitri, like metaphorically is talking about like our dresses trying to cop a feel of tantalizing brains. Um, I just think it's a really funny line that like maybe people aren't really processing. I don't know. What do you think? Do you like that line or?
No, it is a good line. It is a good line. I will tell you, I did listen to the Cobra guys,
Oh,
and they pointed that line out too.
oh, okay. Well, see, well, there you go.
I think it's Dimitri who's been copping feels, I think, and he's more, bold to talk about this, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with a girlfriend like the one he has, is giving him all of the confidence. Um,
Well, that's what she's always feeling his brain, I guess.
yeah.
So,
Well,
so
yes,
he's
yep. I
speaking
think
from
so.
experience, literally. So,
Got it. She is copying the feel of his brains.
and yeah,
Okay.
And Sam, who knows Yasmin, is now imagining Yasmin hopping that feel on his brain, and she's like, "Oh, gross." You don't
Right.
want to think of your friends like
No,
that.
nope,
You
not at
know,
all. Yeah, yeah. We didn't get any Sam and Yasmin scenes,
no,
or moments.
nothing,
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
nothing.
not at all. I like this moment here with the Gary, who is looks a little bit older than he. I think that's by design, right? Like he looks like uh he's I don't know. I don't
I
know
think
if
these guys
there's
are
any.
usually like kind of somewhat recent grads who work at the
Okay,
university, like in
got it.
their I don't want to call it market, their outreach department or whatever the heck they call that,
Okay,
because
so
I
not
think a
as
lot of
yeah.
times universities hire like these people get work in the now they work for the university doing that sort of stuff.
Right. It's part of
Yeah.
like some program, maybe like he's going to become like a faculty member or something, and
Oh,
maybe
well, maybe not
not even that.
specific. Well, like it's just like a different. It's not like professor. It's just like you're
Right. No,
working in the
I
um.
thought he'd be like a kind of like a student teacher type thing, or um,
I
obviously a
mean, it's
representative of the
possible.
college.
It's possible, but yeah, but I think they have like teams of people who go do these
Yeah.
things.
I do like this guy. I mean, because I think he's maybe not really calling Miguel out on this because he knows, but understands that like this is a real option for the kids that don't really have the funds. He says they keep you closer to home, set you up for a big school later. So kind of like like what people do with community colleges, they go for a few credits or a couple years, and then they transfer to like an university
A
or something.
bigger
Right.
school, yeah, and
Right.
and and it's actually usually easier to transfer than it is to get in initially. Like
Yeah.
transferring as a junior is a lot easier than getting in as a freshman. So
Right.
there,
And
helpful hint, all you high school seniors out there.
there you go. And it does suck for Miguel, who has to consider this as a possible option. But I do think, what Gary is saying here, I think that's gonna resonate with some of the kids. But like, yeah, no, you're right. This will take that weight off of mom and pop's wallet. If you're looking to really help them out, hey, why not stay closer to home? So,
Let's see.
the
Oh, here I have a note
yeah,
here. I'm going to read it verbatim what I wrote. They
Great.
should
Okay.
all skip college and do karate full time. Up, there you go. That's
Well, drama will continue because once you leave the karate, things tend to go a little bit nicer for you, I feel.
yeah, yeah. We need karate. I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
continue,
yeah.
continue.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Back to Korea? No, no. To the Russos,
No,
there's a knock at the front
yeah.
door. Daniel and Amanda answer, and it's Johnny, who's there to borrow a blow-up mattress. Tells them about the issues with the pipes. Um, that's kind of pretty much it, actually. Is this also where they suggest about or is that later? No, this is the same scene, right? Where they kind of suggest Chosen um
Oh yeah, yeah.
starting.
Because Chosen, because he's talking like, oh, I may need a new place to rent. Chosen comes in with, oh, you but seller's market, and then he's like, how do you know? All, yeah,
It's
all
his
selling
shows,
side all my
Property
shows,
Brothers. Yeah, right. Uh,
which makes
um,
me like my mom watches the same shows, so um, I
and
think
these
like
are
Chosen and
according to
my mom
Amy,
would get along real well.
these are
What?
all on Netflix, right? These are Netflix shows.
I don't even
Is
know.
it?
I don't
Oh,
even.
she
I don't
mentioned
know.
it was in the
Oh,
synopsis, so I just assume, yeah.
they very well could be then. Yeah.
So, it is suggested for Chosen to, use his expertise, and even like Johnny pointed out that he's on a karate vacation here, and
hmm
yeah, man, I can't wait to get rid of him. Now, the special PB and J's are is that something that they're referencing from before?
Yeah. Those what the hell is call
Is it the
those
one from
things?
the first episode with Chosen? No, oh, those were
No, no,
cannolis,
no,
right?
no,
Or
no. Anthony and Sam in episode
oh, the
3.
Crustables.
Crustables.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
Because we talked
Uh,
about it last season. For those of you who remember, and I told you
yes.
I've never had one. They actually creep me out a little bit. That has not changed.
Okay.
I now think less of Johnny for going for it, but
I mean, if we think about like season one, Johnny with the fried bologna, or all
no,
these
that's
things, and
toughing it out. That's toughing it
okay,
out. Like,
got
yeah.
it, got it.
Diet Dr. Pepper chosen.
I don't mind
That's
the
what
Diet Dr.
chosen.
Pepper. I mean, it's probably the best diet drink that still tastes, pretty close to the original.
You're right. The original. Yeah. It
Now,
really is. Yeah. Did you
it
know
is.
Dr. Pepper passed Pepsi as the number two soda, cola,
I
or
feel
drink,
like
or
I
whatever?
just heard. Did you share that before? I feel that came up
I
recently
feel like I
somewhere.
just read that like in the past week. Like,
Yeah, I think there was a discussion about it.
yeah, somewhere.
Also, I do wonder, Chosen likes his Diet Dr. Pepper. Is Chosen buy himself some Diet Dr. Pepper, or the LaRussos have it and Chosen likes it? Because now I feel like Chosen's a bit of a freeloader.
Oh, he's definitely freeloading.
I mean, like freeloader, not just like, yeah, I
Well,
guess this
keep in
is
mind, as we learn later, what is he getting paid? So,
nothing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
right. All right. So Amanda gets a little word in here. Johnny doesn't notice that, nothing for me, thanks. So. We cut back to Korea. Kreese is asking for his Master Kim's blessings to compete in the Sekai Takai. He rejects this request with a simple no, and this is the second time we've seen Master Kim strike Kreese. And so, like, I'm assuming that's more of a respecting student teacher, right? Like, you're not gonna fight your mentor, right? Like, you're just gonna take this
Um,
beating.
are you gonna fight Kim Sun Young?
I mean,
Why don't you give
no.
it a shot and tell us how it goes?
But also, I don't know, man. Like this guy has like at least a relationship stranger, you know, no business with this stuff. So like
I
the
think it
qualms
shows
between
Kim
these
Sun
two.
Young's still got some fight in him, man.
Oh, I
He's
would
an
say
old
so.
man with a cane, but you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah. No. Okay. Well, great question. I will not challenge him myself. So, but also like I am a wuss. Okay. I am no Sensei Kreese. I'll tell you that and we'll get there.
Mm.
Okay. So it says no. I think most of us kind of knew that. I thought this is really funny. It's like that thing where like Ray goes to see Luke Skywalker, and you see this often where it's usually like it doesn't turn out the way like in this sense it's Kreese, so like it never works out for them. Um,
hmm
and do you think? it's because like, well, I already gave her a chance and she failed, basically, like that, what we saw in season five, like that you already had your chance.
Um,
Or do you
okay,
think this
so
is,
why
yeah,
he's saying no?
yes,
Um,
correct.
I think, I think, no, I think he wants Kreese to prove himself.
Okay.
Um, and
If you
I
want this
think,
badly,
and I think we see a little bit of the relationship between Sun Young and Daun. Um, and it's definitely like I actually love the dialogue here. Like where he's like matter, and he's like, "This is so you'll never be the master. This is why I cannot die
yeah, right,
because
right.
because you're
Your
not ready." Um,
incompetence is why I must stay alive.
yeah, like I love that line. Like
This is
Joe
why
and
you will
Milan,
never
my
be
favorite
master.
writers, by the way.
Yeah,
They do make it work.
it's a good exchange.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually maybe my favorite scene in the episode. But so yeah, I think he wants Kreese to prove himself. He's not willing to just turn over his dojo um to even one of his best students, even if he thinks that, whatever. So and remember Kreese even mentions how one of my students beat up 5 years. Again, how does Kreese know that? I don't know. Maybe Daun told him.
That's the word on the street. You know what?
Where
I
he
bet
just
you,
knows the karate stuff.
I bet you, Jello man Gabriel. I bet you he's got word from the street and passed it on.
Hmm.
Somehow they're probably still in touch or something. Um, and fools always focus on prize, right? So that's kind of like key in why Master Kim sends them like on this journey that we're about to see. And so
Right.
like yeah, there's a lot of undertones here. The whole idea of like, okay, this is what you want, then I have a journey for you and nothing will stand in your way, right? Like
Hmm.
if this the end game for you is to go to this and you want my blessing, then I'm gonna give you this task and you should not give like any shit like what's gonna stand in your way, right? But
Hmm.
the other thing I wanted to kind of look up, is there like some sort of maybe not myth, but like being snake is there like a sort of like old wives' tale, and I hate to use that expression, but like something like that where you hear about like, oh, you get bit by a snake, um,
You
X, Y, and
die?
Z.
Like, no, that's not a
Usually, is it
wise
just
tale.
usually poisonous and you just die? Like there's not anything like like I'm trying to think of a good one on the spot. Nothing's coming to me. I have a bunch of like superstition in my culture, um, which probably makes like not a lot of sense to maybe people not privy to it. But like have you heard anything like that? Is there some sort of like just
I
lore or
don't know off
nothing?
the
Okay,
top of my head. That's not my
because I was trying to see.
specialty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if there was anything else related to that. Like what we're about to see. You know, um, like Kreese going into this fever dream. But we'll get there.
We'll get to. Oh,
Yeah.
we should back up because we skipped the hut because we're talking about like
Ah,
why does
yeah.
he have a hut and not a building or something? And the
Okay.
most I can say is in the next scene we'll get Sun Young's a little bit more of the backstory, but like I think he keeps the dojo or dojang, the way it was as he learned during the occupation and everything. So it's not like he has a building with an office, and beers in the fridge or something.
Yeah.
So I think he just keeps it the way it was. And part of his philosophy is, you learn in harshness, I guess. The harsh builds your strength. So I that's the best I can give for
Okay.
and
Okay.
and I assume a little bit off camera is a parking lot
There's
where
somewhere. There's somewhere.
and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
parents pick up their kids and then the older students
Sure.
drive and like
Right. I mean, yeah. 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 A lot more commercial and a little bit
yeah.
more. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. We cut to Dimitri, Hawk, and Miguel, who's on a tour visiting College of the Valley. That's what it's on the t-shirt or on the polo shirt there by this tour guide. Dimitri definitely doesn't think much of the school, but Miguel wants to keep his options open. And out of nowhere, the tour guide gets Bruxed, and we're reintroduced to Brooks and Kyler. If you
Hmm.
do listen or have subtitles on, there's a little bit of dialogue between like, yo go, yo bro, go long, that kind of thing. Um, and let's see here. If you no, already said that, Eli tells Brooks he's looking good and apologizes and adds he was in a dark place. Brooks says it's cool and shows him his new teeth, which he swallowed, and we get the cut to Hakua, right, from season 3,
Yeah, the original Hawk Tuah.
the
Um,
original indeed. And you can hear, for those that maybe missed it, or maybe you're a newer listener, we had an interview with Jacob that talked about that moment and how he improvised the spit. So,
it's true. That's true. Like
yep,
I seriously, the original Hawk Tuah. I'm sure.
absolutely.
She stole his groove.
She
Uh,
watched it and stole
yeah,
it and remembered that
exactly.
he spit on that thing, put this,
Hmm.
Octo on that. Wait, yeah, that. You know what? Also, I
What
mean,
has become
related.
of this podcast? Now we're just
Well, so my 12-year-old, I heard him say it one day, and I did not want to.
seriously.
I heard him say it just like casually. I think we were walking somewhere, and he might have just did the thing where he was just kind of speaking out loud, and it wasn't directed at me. But I heard him
Hmm.
say something like that. I'm like, oh Lord.
Probably got
So
it from school. I know, like my nephew just says all sorts of things,
yeah.
like which clearly, like he got like from school. He's also Sigma. What the
Right.
Sigma? Like, and I'm like, what are you doing?
So because of sorry guys, tangent, but a recent TikTok video where a mother and son where she was, he was giving her the slang and she was giving like the layman term to us, and Sigma was one of them. I'm like, okay, I've been hearing that. I didn't realize it was one of those newer slangs now. Anyway,
Oh,
uh,
they just use a word for anything. Like it's just ridiculous. But I'm sorry.
well, yeah,
Oh,
it's
great.
just
Now
this.
look at that. Now I become the cranky old man.
Well, on
Jeez.
that same note, in addition to that, People magazine recently released, I don't know what number list of sexiest people or whatever. And I saw like the best comment said something like, I am now at the age where I don't recognize half of these people. I'm like, oh shit, I am too. So,
I
oh
know. I
man.
would expect to be on the list, but I.
Exactly. There you go. See, you were not on there, did not recognize half those other people. All right. Let's see here. Yes. So did you like seeing these guys again?
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I think we were all looking forward to it from the trailer.
Yeah.
And it's not like I mean, Kyler was just there at the end of season 5. Like, it's not like Brooks is the one we haven't seen since season 3. So it's not like well, Kyler we're happy he was only missing one episode, but
Yeah.
yeah, great to see them back together. As a duo.
Right. Absolutely. Brooks is visiting. He's currently going to MIT, which is what we're going to find out. Um, I do like what they did with Brooks here because I was wondering, because if they brought him back and he still kind of had it out for Hawk, let's just say, then I'm like,
Mhm.
man, like we're trying to wrap up the last season here, so I'm glad they
Yeah.
didn't kind of go in that direction, basically. Also,
Yeah. It's just like a positive attitude. Play karate games, win
yeah,
karate prizes. It's funny. I actually wrote even in my notes, peacetime in the valley. Like again, and there it is. Like
right. Yeah,
things kind of worked out. Mhm.
and I like this for these two because of what happened. Like I felt like that was just enough, and we got the flashback, and like it was nice and kind of condensed. And so like I'm still kind of like, man, I know the other stuff that Hawk did. It was just kind of like real short. When Robbie said, well, you did this, you did this, you did this, and so I was like, oh man, like that. I didn't feel that was enough for all the other things that Hawk did. So at least for him and Brooks, I thought this was good.
Mhm.
And when I mentioned earlier that I felt like a little nostalgic for these characters in the school setting, and I'm glad that he kind of showed like the flashback of the beatdown because Hawk also had like the red spikes, and so like now he has blue hair, but it's the same spikes from season 3.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so I do kind of like that bit of callback. the other little bit of dialogue from the tour guide is the chemistry lab was rebuilt in 1993. So there was an explosion in the chemistry lab at some point in 1993,
That
I guess,
is true.
or
That
maybe
is true.
92, perhaps.
Or
So yeah,
yeah, not remodeled, rebuilt.
rebuilt. Yeah. At one point, Kyler mentioned how Brooks is visiting from MIT. The Pioneer brothers, they're kind of like flabbergasted, to hear
Hmm.
this news.
Right.
And Brooks mentions like ad meliora, right? I'm assuming it's Latin, toward better things. And I love like if you go back and you watch Joe's face acting, who plays Kyler, so Kyler's
Hmm.
look, he's doing that thing where it's like, yeah, like, oh man, that's deep. It's deep, bro. Like it's just it's really good face acting from Joe. I look at that every time, and because they're homies, they're good friends, and so I just I love that where like Tyler's hanging on to every word that Brooks said. And his boy goes to MIT, so
Yeah.
see, and then they go see you at the house. So that's later on. Uh,
Wait, so
yeah,
I have a question for you. So you didn't know what MIT was. Like, so when he
I
says you,
I'm familiar with MIT. If I'm not mistaken, and I might have to check in my card here, but I know that it's like one of those like well-regarded schools because Scott
yeah.
Bakula's character in Quantum Leap, Sam Beckett went to MIT.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
And
really
so like
hard.
I knew it was like technical and
Hmm.
like that type of stuff. So it made sense to me from what I think I know about MIT. That's good. And so like that's why their reaction, I kind of get that. And I remember doing the reaction and I was like, oh, it must be like a what did I say? I thought that it was like a scholarship because there was no way that Brooks is going to the MIT, right? So if it
Well,
was,
I will admit, I thought he
you
was
th
at MIT. I thought it
okay,
was like they were going with yeah, he's like the bully hanging around, but like he's actually was really, really smart.
oh, okay.
And they teased it back in the library when
Oh,
he,
right. Yeah.
the object of the preposition, the line there and all that. So like I will say this is one where they I got it. Like I thought like yeah, he was actually just really smart and like
In
was
my
actually a straight A student, but then
yeah.
hanging out with Kyler and stuff.
I
Um,
think my apologies if this edit is already out there, but it'd be funny is if somebody took that sequence that we just talked about and had kind of like the little, like bells, the flashback to do 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 do, and then it goes back to the library where Brooks
mhm,
says that, and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense.
mhm.
Like, yeah, he is smart. Um, okay.
Yeah.
So we cut to Johnny and Chosen, who are at an open house. The sign outside says the house. The sign outside the house says it's fully furnished rental. Now,
Mhm.
that's common, I'm assuming, a
Um,
fully
I guess
furnished
it's
rental.
not unheard of. I don't know about
Right.
houses. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen, furnished apartments. Um,
Because I mean, even with let's say like an Airbnb that is like fully furnished, like so for those that tuned into the Steel City Con episode, the recap, Mike and I we stayed at a Airbnb that was like I told Mike I go this looks like I feel a little bad but I felt like like a family member passed away of old age and they're like you know what let's just make this Airbnb like it looked like they just took all the person's clothing and everything was left the same. It
yeah.
almost seemed like a
I've seen
super
photos.
host, but we're actually in the house as opposed to the room in the basement or something. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I haven't been in a lot of Airbnbs, and so like the idea, to get my point, that the idea of like a fully furnished home to rent sounds a little like, oh, I mean, I don't know if I would want that. And I don't know if you'd have a choice because it's a rental, so I don't know. So yeah, but I did see that because like I think that makes sense for their families, possibly.
Hmm.
Johnny's probably not going to be able to like really afford a lot of furniture for all of the family members, like so if we're talking about like maybe more of a skeleton thing, kind of like a,
Hmm.
your dressers and maybe a bed frame, but in
Yeah.
everything else is taken. I don't know. Like it stuck out, and so I just started wondering. It's really why I bring it up. Um, let's see. Chosen advises Johnny not to fall in love with the first house he sees. I wish Chosen was with me with when I bought my first home. They spot the agent, and Chosen clocks him as a typical LA asshole. Big watch, dumb haircut, all lies, and his name is Baz.
Do you think Chosen is right?
You know, excuse me. I don't know what a typical LA asshole is. Are they assholes? I don't know if I'm ready to call them that. I don't want to get attacked. Like
I'll tell you,
um
no one writes assholes better than John, Josh, and Hayden.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Uh I I like this guy though. I like Baz. I don't think he I don't think he looks the way Chosen's describing him. But I do like this actor playing Baz. So like what he does is fine. I think they could have got somebody a little bit more like a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe you do want a realtor that looks like somebody that's a little bit more, that you could like, right? You don't want somebody that's too slime ball looking, I guess. Yeah,
On Cole.
well, it's especially if you're like in this nice area, right? Like a stone
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
from Reseda, or
I think
I think,
yeah, I think the character fits the part or something.
yeah,
He's I don't know. Here go on with it. Like it's not my
yeah.
favorite sequence here, but
Yeah, I just think like
yeah.
Chosen calls him like the typical yeah, see, I don't know. I think he's almost kind of what I'd expected, I guess, in this area.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there's this whole deal where like the Baz, is unfamiliar with Mr. Taguchi here, and so we're
Mhm.
learning that it's a private realtor, I guess, or something for Mr. John Lawrence. This is just one of those sequences, and maybe this is to what you were just saying. Like, is this? Are you just? I'm not a fan of Johnny not being able to read the room. It's just my problem with this sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like this is a situation, and it doesn't come up often, where I feel like they're forcing it a little bit too much. Like Johnny's supposed to make this horrible impression that he ultimately just immediately says like no deal. Like even with
Oh yeah,
Chosen
200,
offering,
200
yeah,
over asking. Yeah.
over asking. And I just don't buy it. Like this is where I think, they're forcing it. It starts with like he sees Johnny's car outside,
Yeah.
and and I know, like, is it like it's not even like a junker, like, oh my God, how does that even run? Like it actually looks pretty nice. And Chosen introduces them as partner in emerging valley business, right?
Right.
Um and many people who own businesses, contracting or whatever, have something on the side of their car. So and Johnny's
Right.
kind of looks badass. And now if you want to get real in universe, if he said, "Oh yeah, that emerging valley business is a karate dojo," he'd be like, "Karate? That's the biggest thing in the valley. Oh my God."
You're right. You kind of sold me on the car part. Like, you're right because that is like billboard for his business, right? Like, he's
Yeah,
not ego
yeah. I
faggy
mean,
anymore.
you've seen that. I mean, if I had a business like that, in fact, maybe I should put watch party on the side of my car or something. But like, I mean, you would do the same thing. Like, and
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like,
that's what you do.
but like the show presents it as like the guy's like really on edge, and then yeah, and then it goes on to Johnny's speech where they try to make it sound bad, but really nothing he said is that wrong, other than that maybe like
She's knocked out.
Rosa Street smokes weed
Oh,
all day. Like that was like the one thing.
but it's
I
legal
mean, yeah.
in California. It's
Um,
legal now. So,
was it
um,
legal at that point? I don't know. But
oh,
but it's like Johnny was saying like, "Oh, hey, we're a blended family with a baby on the way. She's got a son, I got a son, and then her mom. Like is that like, whoa, sketch family, man. I'm not written to you. Like wait, like I don't get it. Like I would think this
yeah.
is like the most LA family you would find like
No, I think you're absolutely right. I
yeah.
think that's why like he's a typical LA asshole. Like he's being super judgy, and
But
he's
like, I
not
don't
really
even. What is he judging? Like, hey, you're like everyone
like
else.
the
I
van,
wanted
right?
to
Like
rent to a prince. Damn it! Like,
well, like I guess like at first I mean I thought like the dialogue is funny and like the whole like the van talk. I'm thinking, well, Johnny, also like I do know that you used to drive a Challenger, and that was really badass, and you were the one who got it painted black
mhm,
and then the
mhm,
yellow and the decals. Kind of carry that on, and like the van is all you really had. But
mhm.
I think most people would be like, okay, I get it. It's a van and, a 30-year-old van, but like, hey, it still runs, but he's almost like, hell yeah, man, check it out. Like, yeah, it's just like the
Yeah,
Challenger. Anyway, that's my Johnny.
yeah.
Anyway, but also like the whole line of he'd be sleeping in the car if it was just him. Like, you
Hmm.
don't want to really volunteer that. Like if you have money, you have a place to stay. You're basically almost kind of telling them you'd be homeless without the family.
I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
just hear a guy committed to his job.
Yeah. So you would have given him this because of the 200 asking price. Like that's
I
cool.
wouldn't give
Okay.
it to him, but I would let him apply. Like, or I
Okay.
would like run his credit, or you know, like go to
Well,
the next step. Like,
I
I'm not just
guess
like telling him to get lost.
no. I mean that would be a good question though. Like if because it's a very competitive market and all these things, right? Like if you have some people that you think are much more candidates, wouldn't you also kind of weave out the ones that you don't even want to go through the trouble with?
It could be, but I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't tell him up front.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind he has other houses, which we learned later in the episode. He say, maybe this one isn't right for you, but I have other houses I can show you. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that how
Right. Right.
always work in the angles, right?
Right.
Um, and by
Yeah.
the way, I will also note, the Johnny probably should be looking with Carmen, like they're
Yeah.
together. Carmen does have a regular job at the hospital. She probably has maybe a little bit better credit, like if they applied together or something.
You're right. Yeah, I would have liked that
I mean,
actually.
yeah,
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 yeah.
it's
Have her
just,
involved.
the show kind of overlooks it. Okay, I get it. Johnny's like, well, I'm going to do it. I got to do this. Okay, but like in real life, I think like, you would bring Carmen along.
Yeah. And it could be one of those things also. It's like, well, you know what? A lot of people kind of like Johnny and Chosen go on a run together, right? Like
Oh
we
yeah,
saw in season 5.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's for the show. I get it, but
Right, right, right. Yeah. And I guess, after saying all this stuff about Baz, maybe like the worst thing he says, I guess, is almost implying that like Johnny's unstable, right? This is where Johnny's like,
well,
oh,
we
not that
already knew
dumber.
that. It's just,
Well, I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
People may say that, but maybe most of us don't think he's unstable. Like, oh, we get
Mhm.
it. We get it. Let's see here. Let's see. We cut to back to Korea. Kim Sung Young gives Kreese a bit of a history lesson. A mission to fetch his ancient family knife. Uh, was it Unjangdo? I'm still trying to get
Jingdo,
down the
yeah, yeah.
Unjangdo. And so I had been meaning to. Did you look up the translation for this at all? I didn't. I can do it real quick if you want.
I didn't. I assumed it just meant knife or something like a family knife. Um, Ancient family knife. Yeah, I mean that's that. I mean he
Hmm,
refers to it as my father's Unjingdo ancient
right.
family knife. So, um,
Now, I was not good with history, but Master Kim talks about like this land was once under Japanese colonial rule. Do you
mhm.
know any of this history lesson right here, and how it may
Yeah,
relate
that's oh
to?
yeah, this is important, and I think this was
Okay.
always, um, I mean, important in the sense of the origin of Cobra Kai or the Way of the Fist. This is goes back to World War II because Japan occupied Korea for many years, maybe a couple decades. It was a really long time.
Hmm.
Because for Japan, World War II was actually like a lot longer than the way we would think of it in the United States. Because they were, and Japan occupied Korea for um many, many years. And yeah, I guess the conscription of people, like I wasn't really familiar with that, but I'll assume, stuff like that did happen.
Yeah.
So and this is also where a lot of the martial arts came about.
Mm,
Because as we know, or if you're familiar, Tang Soo Do, Taekwondo, all these Korean martial arts didn't really emerge until after World War II. It was because I think there were rules they weren't allowed to have weapons
mm.
under Japanese occupation, and this is where like from China, kung fu spread, and then all these martial arts developed. Guys, if I'm slightly wrong with this history, please don't roast me. But I think and so
If
but then
anything,
and then
please.
and then through that story and through the occupation, this is something I've always suspected, and basically is confirmed here. This is through the development of those martial arts, somewhere Kim Sun Young, a very young boy, learned these martial arts and then also developed his way of the fist while under Japanese colonial rule, which he at least talks a little bit, killing a dozen men. He showed them no mercy. He doesn't say
Right,
that,
as it,
but
he
obviously.
was a boy doing that
Right,
too.
right. He
So
would have
that
been very,
also
very
speaks
young. Yeah.
volumes. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So like if you have more to add, to help educate, please reach out and
Hmm.
whatever you may be able to provide to help educate others about all of that history, we'll be happy to share. At least I will, and
Hmm.
because this could come into play, right, with the next 10 episodes. And so
Yeah, I
the
think we'll maybe get a little bit more.
so
I think through the development of actually Kim Sun Young's way of the fist, the no mercy philosophy and all that, I'm assuming comes from all this.
so what are you able to give any insight on like the dynamics between Koreans and Japanese around that time? Like, I don't know, was
I mean, I think they've
just
certainly
viewed
have
each
not
other
been
as,
friendly to each other. You know, it's pretty, what do you want to say, call it, cold or hostile.
yeah,
Um,
right,
definitely, for all then. So for
okay,
back then, and probably, I guess to some extent still extends today. Um,
right. And some of the dialogue is also kind of spoken over, like, Kreese already kind of on his journey, gets on, doesn't
right.
he get
Yeah. It's
on
like
like
a
something,
voiceover. Yeah. Mhm.
voiceover, there you go. Doesn't he get on something like a kayak or something like that? Or
Canoe
actually,
or I think it's more of a, is it more of a canoe or, um,
You're probably right. Yeah, he's got a lantern. That's a nice looking lantern he's got. He goes into a cave. Do you think Master Kim just drew out a little map or something, or or just
what?
gave like really good directions? It's been like a hundred years. It's
Really
been like
good
a hundred
directions.
years, right? It's been a
I
hundred years
know.
since he's been to this cave, and it's still there with an opening and everything.
Well, I mean, do we want to get to, are we at this actually to talk
We
about that part
yes,
of it?
yes,
Or,
we're pretty much here now. The voiceover is over the sequence where he enters the cave. He finds the knife. Uh, Left there. Let me see if I can pull up an image of the knife real quick because I'm trying to see was it unsheathed or anything. Because did
yes,
he?
I believe it
Yeah, it
is.
is. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because he says
Yeah.
that basically he like let me see if I can see the dialogue again. Um, that he's just say he just loses it. So I fought them using my father's
Yunjing
Do.
Do. Yeah.
I killed a dozen men before I lose. Okay, so he killed
He
about a dozen
lost.
men before he lost it. So help. He went 12 men before he lost that knife. That's pretty good. Um, but yeah, just sitting right there with just the one snake, right? Like the one
Yeah.
that we
Well,
see.
yeah. And this is like the part of it I don't really like in this storyline because it's, yeah, like we get all this backstory and I find it interesting. I did like it. Um, he's telling this story about, hiding in the knife. And so it's like, okay, Kreese is going on this quest and and this is a Joe and Luan thing. But then like you said, he got good directions. He goes right to the cave. He like walks in and he like turns around and like, hey, look, there's the knife. And I was like, okay,
X
that was a
marks the
little
spot,
too
right?
easy.
Right, like
Yeah,
okay.
like and it reminds me of Joe and Luan's 302, Nature versus Nurture, when Johnny and Daniel are looking for Robbie, and then he's like,
Okay.
oh, go check over that, the shady side of town. And they're like at the gas station filling up, and then he just looks from the gas station. Hey, look, there's the van, right? Like it was just like right there, and it was like, well, that was kind of easy. Like this
Yeah.
this I feel like is even more than that. It was like you're going on a quest, but you're not really. Oh, look, it's right there. And as we'll
Yeah.
get to it, I get they wanted the story to be like the vision quest of Kreese and his obstacles and weakness. But like I almost now feel cheated. Like I felt like there should have been some sort of quest. I think this may have it was just he just walked in and the knife is right there. And now I'm sitting there. How is that knife gone for 70 years when like it's just sitting right there?
Is this the possibly the same
Oh,
snake?
and by the way, it doesn't look like like it doesn't look like 70 years old. Like the knife doesn't look like it's been sitting there for seven. I'm sorry.
No,
Like it
it
makes
doesn't.
me
But
wonder like he put it there the night before as a test.
you know what? Maybe there's a deleted scene.
I
This.
like honestly like the way it is, I feel like yeah, he or one of his students just threw it there the night before as a like a test.
So one
He
of the
just
other
and the
things
story
for
was all just maybe the story was real, but like he just was
I I was kind of like shading like Master Kim a little bit, but like really that's you were scared of that snake and that's why you never went back, I guess. And recently, shout outs to I'll just call him Mr. Knight, who follows me on Instagram. Is somebody I've
Mhm,
spoken with. He also practices karate and goes to Ryu and all that stuff. So he actually
mhm.
sent me a video clip, and I did share it in my Instagram story of a very similar looking snake. There was like two of them, and it like stood upwards and it looked extremely big and hideous and scary. And it was like broad daylight too. And I understood then. I go and when I shared it on my story, I captioned it. I said, "Dear Kreese, you are braver than me. Like I understand why Master Kim left that knife in the cave, you know. But like watching it on the show, the first time we kind of see that knife with the snake in the same frame, the knife looks kind of big as well in comparison to the snake. So the snake looks a little bit smaller. And so I wish I could have seen like its size compared to like Freeze, you know, and maybe
Mhm.
have the knife look a little bit smaller than the actual
Mhm.
snake, you know. Yeah. Anyway, but like, no, thank you.
Also, is this like snake is guarding this knife been passed down in this snake's family?
That's what I
Like
was
the
wondering.
snake's
Like, is this
father was
the
like,
same?
I guard,
Yeah.
I guarded
Yeah.
this knife.
This is
You
the grand.
son must guard the knife after me.
You
So
said,
this family of snakes has guarded this knife.
well, what's that snake from the Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood? You know, the snake and kind of sound like that. But
Yeah.
you know, no, it's like the granddaughter or the grandson of like the snake from before, you know. So
Yeah.
um, okay, and let's see, Trees gets bitten by the snake on the wrist here, and I
You
think
would
that's it
think
before we
Kreese is
cut.
immune to snake poison. Like you would just think that. Like if it turned out Kreese was immune to snake poison,
Right,
like
right,
no one would think, well, everyone would be like, well, that makes sense. I
yeah.
guess he's not.
N no, no. I mean, at least um, Venom or whatever doesn't kill him, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
If he
That's true.
if he comes back like in episode like 606 with like I don't know like a really swollen hand and like okay we'll see well there you go it did something you know.
I thought you were going to say superpowers. Like,
We cut to the frat party and the binary brothers still can't believe Brooks is going to MIT.
hmm.
And let's see at one point here. Let's see. Hawk asks, like, was he speaking Latin earlier? It's like, I don't know. Maybe your fist unlocked his dormant brain. And so I think that is also like a real phenomenon, like, you know, uh, accidents or whatever. Like, it does kind of, it's not all the time, but in some cases, you hear like it unlocks something, right? That it changes a person, in
Hmm.
some way. So, but you also hear Kyler speaking with like a young lady, like, hey, you know, you got to really come over to my place, man. I got this snake with it. You know, everyone knows that he's about to say like snake with one eye, at least, right? Or no, 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 am
Yeah.
I? Okay, all right. And so like a little reminder, you know, so Tyler was a bit of a sleazeball back in season one, and let's see, and
He dates
the
a lot of
guys.
sisters, so you know he's
That's what he says. That's what he
yeah.
says. That's one of his one of my favorite lines of his too. Like, "Oh, I did a lot of
Hmm.
sisters. Um, but you know, they're all kind of like, I guess they're happy for him. You know, that they're saying after everything, Kyler still lands on his feet. Now,
Hmm.
this in I do wonder who came up with penis breath because like shit breath. I was like, man, there's a lot of like something breath, as like a um like these type of like nicknames. Like I haven't heard like a really good unique nickname in a long time, you know. Usually, I guess it's been a few years, Sensei Lawrence, Virgin, those were some
Yeah.
really creative names. But now, what did you think about the hazing, the rushing, that Kyler's doing here for this frat party?
I think, I mean, I never rushed to frat, but I guess it's normal or like not like you would be unexpected. It puts him, I mean, you could say in the bullied role, like it's for the first time, like the roles are reversed and he's completely in the subservient position,
Hmm.
or the one getting pushed around, and under the premise he's assuming that he gets admitted and then he becomes an equal, but before you become an equal you have to first go through the ritual hazing or something, and the idea being the other people went through it too before him,
Right.
but it is an interesting situation just to see Kyler in a completely different um what's the word I'm looking for,
I was about to
you
say
know
color, like a different color, a color like
yeah,
yeah,
situation.
right. Again, this is just kind of like vibes from like previous seasons. Like this party when I'm jumping just slightly ahead here. There's one part where Tyler has to go make like more drinks for Mr. Zanker here. This guy
Mhm.
that's kind of running like all the I guess the people that he's hazing or whatever, and he goes and makes some happy juice, and then this is where like Miguel kind of talks to him a little bit here, and I guess Kyler seems to be okay. Like he thinks that they're good, but Miguel had overheard otherwise. But like what I like is Xolo's him drinking the juice and how he like almost vomits it out. Like he goes down the wrong pipe. The way he spits it out, love
Yeah.
it. That he's coming out like in between his fingers and everything. So that was really cool. Now, what I wanted to point out was like this cut to spikes, spikes, spikes. Like it really reminded me of episode 209, where like everyone's at Moon's house and they're having a party, and then it
Yeah.
cuts to like this chant, and it's like little Nate and AJ's character Edwin,
Yeah.
having a
Yeah.
little dance off. So it's
Dance off. Yeah.
very similar. Yep, kind of reminded me
Mhm.
of that. So, um, uh,
Spikes is
Dimitri,
good. I still prefer Hawk, by the way.
yeah, nope,
Because
this
Hawk has that sound effect, "Ew," the Hawk cry.
that's true.
You
That's
can't do
true.
that with Spikes. I'm just gonna point it out.
It could be like almost like a harpoon, like a scorpion harpoon.
Not
No,
the same.
yeah, you're
Not
right.
the same.
Yeah, yeah, it's not, it is not. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so yeah, there's this talk about like no, that they're not gonna let Tyler in over his dead body. Now,
Mhm.
I do wonder what it is about Tyler. Like why? I guess what I don't need to know, but I do wonder
Yeah, I
what
think
is it
it
about
doesn't
him?
matter. You know, it,
Yeah, it
why they
doesn't.
don't
Just
want Kyler in, because he's so much of a badass, man. They realize if they let him in, he'll show up everyone else,
that could be it. That could be it.
party
You
animal or something or
right,
other,
right.
you know?
Yeah. Let's see here. What happened? Okay, so now we cut to Chozen and Johnny are walking and they have a little talk about embracing Miyagi-Do and where it comes from. Um,
Mhm.
and the next house that they find is also repped by Baz. I think a lot of people were kind of wondering like how much time has actually passed. Like did they just go for a walk down the street and then Baz just drove down and then just happened to be there first? That got a little confusing.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just say they got lunch in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe like it's fine. Like I was thinking, like, how do you make it seem like more time has passed? Maybe you've chosen something like, okay, all right, this is the last house for the day. Then it makes it sound
Yeah,
like
it's
they've
like
been
you
doing this
you
all day.
scheduled one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and there you go.
Yeah. Open houses, can you just walk in? No?
That's
Or
true. If they
yeah.
do is.
So this second one, and I do like the exchange because like I can understand both headspaces, where Johnny apologizes, that he was out of line, and Bass is like, yeah, you were. There's the door. I like that play. Like I kind of like
Hmm.
that, like Baz is just kind of like, like I already dealt with you guys one time, and I'm not gonna give you a second chance. There you go. What did you think about this with DJ Candy Ford obliterated?
DJ Candy Card. It was a
Yeah,
good moment.
I loved
I
it.
really liked what I liked the most is like someone from Johnny's past, right? Like someone who remembers Johnny. It was weirdly um
I like it
fun
because
or heartening,
yeah,
heartening.
there's
Like
there's no baggage, right? Like he,
exactly, yeah.
yeah, there's no baggage. Like he remembers him the way a lot of people remember Johnny from the first movie. Like obviously this
Mhm.
guy doesn't think he's a cream puff,
Right.
and just remembers him as like the prom king and the karate, remembers Dutch and all these things, and
Mhm.
um and so he is willing to hear Johnny out. So I do like that, right? It's like no baggage. So it's like, okay, let's hear what you got. Do you got any relatives with a lot of money coming? Like all that talk. Little not the Sid is still alive in the world. Um, but so for
And
those that
Dutch
didn't,
too. Yeah, he mentions
yeah, right.
Dutch.
So for those didn't see Obliterated, Adam Hirschman was in their two different scenes, two episodes, and I did get to interview him about that. Did not know he was going to be in Cobra Kai, and so it was a nice surprise. And
Well, that was probably after when you interviewed him before he was in Cobra Kai.
correct, yes.
Yeah.
Did I misspeak?
Well,
I might have.
like I didn't know, but of course he didn't know because he didn't know either. It
Oh,
wasn't
sure,
like
sure, right, right,
I just meant like it wasn't like he knew and had to keep it a secret. Like
right. No, no. The
yeah,
interview was, yeah, way before
yeah,
when yeah, after Obliterated came out. Obviously, that was back in the fall. No, I'm sorry, that was in the winter. No, it was a fall, late fall, and yeah, yeah, obviously that episode wasn't filmed yet. They weren't even back in production. Um,
right, right. Mhm.
right, yeah, they weren't back in production. But anyway, it was nice to see him. And so a couple of different things here. I did allude to this. I don't remember which episode, but he mentions like, "Oh, I'm the little brother of Jerry's
Jerry's
friend."
brother's friend,
Let me see.
Jerry's little brother's friend or something.
Yeah, here we go. Little Stevie, Jerry's brother's friend.
Mhm.
So Jerry could be a nod to like Jerry Weintraub, right? But also there is a Jerry that was in Cobra Kai in the
The
first
dojo,
movie,
yeah, yeah,
right? Larry B. Scott, and
right.
so that could also be a nod to him. So it could
I
be
think it was supposed to be him. Yeah,
okay, yeah, because like
but
it's talking about Dutch, so he was around the Cobras, right? So
yeah,
that
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 makes
yeah,
sense, right?
a little expansion. And now I do like Johnny was like, did I kick your ass? Because you have to look, he kind of laughed at that. And like my favorite, like one of my favorite lines in the whole episode is like, I used to moonwalk to school to class. Like I guess people would kind of remember like, hey, that's like that moonwalk to class, right? Like '83, that was huge then. Moonwalk.
Hmm. Hmm.
Did you do any moonwalking in '83?
No, sir.
No, okay. No, too young for that then. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
He was in middle school, so he is at least let's say at the oldest would be eighth grade, and so '83 that probably puts Johnny about a junior, right? So they're probably what 2 3 years apart, something like that. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I think
So
it's probably a little bit more. Like I got the feeling like yeah, like sixth or seventh grade because I feel like because he wouldn't have been in high school when Johnny was a senior because I feel like he might have known about the 84 All Valley. So like
right,
I can imagine like maybe if he was like in seventh grade and then he was in eighth grade in 84 and caught up in that, so he missed the 84 All Valley. Something like that.
right, yeah, yeah. And so again, it's like, well, if he had known that Johnny lost, like again, that's that little the thing we were just talking about, right? Like he like all he remembers is all the good stuff about John Lawrence, from school. So
Hmm.
again, we get a little kind of a drop that Dutch is still in prison, and I do love the sequence and little Stevie here is definitely willing to help him out. It just comes down to the whole credit thing and just making sure that he has his ducks in order, really, with steady income and a solid deposit. So
Hmm.
that's that's pretty much it. Um, that's yeah.
Oh,
So hearing that Stevie's willing to give him a chance, I think everyone's all a little excited at the idea of this, especially Stevie, who exits the scene with oh yeah, John Lawrence. So like I do wonder like this I was a really big fan. So not only was he just moonwalking, he was just like into like following the Cobras because they had some insane skills.
they had the
Um,
best body bags.
yeah, did. Let's see here. Let's see, we cut back to the cave, right? Yep. We're back to the
Hmm.
cave, and oh gosh, man, yeah, this scene here. So yeah, we're back to the cave, and well, one of the first things that Kreese starts to see, he kind of snaps back into young Kreese and is confronted by young Silver, who is in his military uniform. And so we haven't seen
Hmm.
that since season three,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Season four, I don't think they were in the
No,
military
no, no. They
because that's
weren't
when they
in the
got the
middle. Yeah.
tattoos.
Yeah, correct.
Right, right, right. Okay. So what did you take from this sequence from seeing the younger versions of themselves around the military time still?
Um, well, like Kreese is having a dream sequence hallucination vision quest. So he's seeing the main points on his journey. It's different than last season. Um so like he's seeing the his obstacles. I guess yeah, his obstacles. And I think Terry Silver is an obstacle now that he sees him.
Mhm. And
Um
he even mentions that um basically Kreese, let's see. It because Silver reminds him that like, I what do you say?
you're
You were
my
my weakness,
weakness.
but I'm not
I was
yours.
never
Or
yours.
I
Yeah.
was never yours. Yeah.
And it
And
uses
then,
that to cut over to Johnny. Or
right. And
yeah.
so I didn't do the comparison, but this wasn't what season one Johnny wore, correct? Or is it?
Oh, his gi?
Yeah, because I thought that
No,
was
it's
more
it's the
the
old gi.
right, it's the
It's
old gi.
it's the
Right,
traditional gi. Old Johnny, current however you want to say it in the old gi.
right. So he still views Johnny as the old Johnny from when he was in high school, right?
That would make sense. That would be
Right,
a fair interpretation of that. Yeah.
right. And so did you see this coming? The head snap, like he was actually gonna do it because there's no Miyagi saving him this time.
Um, did I see it coming? Like, no, but like, did I understand it as it happened? It's Kreese killing his weakness, right?
Right.
And by in the dream sequence, killing Johnny. So like it made sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He and we've been seeing it for the last few seasons. Kreese says here, like, I thought you were the answer. But all you really are is just the enemy standing in my way. So, ugh, yeah, pretty brutal. The up close shot, like, I could have used something a little bit more um panned out or something like a more wide shot. There you go. Like I could have used a
Mhm.
little bit more of that. But brutal, the snap, the break of the neck. Yeah, it's just he's really finally cutting off Johnny. So all it took was a snake bite. We cut back to the frat party,
Wait,
and
wait,
this is
hold on
where
a
yeah, yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
He's trying. Did he ever? Um,
Were you questioning?
because I'm just looking back over my notes and now I'm trying to
Hmm.
remember because I wrote, did he ever feel fear for Johnny? Because I think that's something. Um, he says, "Yeah, you make me feel this, and I never feel. Oh, like you make me feel fear, and I never feel fear
Mm.
except when I feel fear for you." And I thought, well, that's an interesting line. Did he ever feel fear for Johnny? Is that is that go back to the
Season
dialogue
four?
they had at the end of season 4?
at the
where he
dojo
was no
or
at the
with
tournament.
Silver, right?
At no no
At the
no
tournament.
at the
Okay.
tournament. When he's explaining why he pushed Johnny in the first movie, because he's like, "Oh, I knew if you lost, it would throw you off or something." Is that what he's saying? Like, I felt fear for you. It feels like a little bit of a stretch. Um,
I'm
and I
not
never
sure.
show mercy except when I show it to you, or except to you. And when did he show Johnny mercy? Am I missing something?
Um,
Because that's the line. I never show
right.
mercy except to you. And I thought, like, when, like, even in season three, it was like
Maybe
he was
when
going to kill Johnny, right? He
he,
had, and Daniel came up and knocked him from behind.
you
Um,
think maybe he's referring to when he stopped Silver from what did he stop Silver? I'm kind of misremembering that sequence when when Johnny goes to the old
okay, you're
dojo.
in season four at the old dojo. He's
Right.
like, enough, this isn't why we're here or something. Um,
Yeah. There you go.
if you want to call that showing him mercy, um, that
'Cause
whole
we
thing
don't
was a little bit,
we don't know how far Silver could have gotten. It could have been a Stingray
yeah,
situation, you know, or even a Daniel situation.
yeah.
He was really starting to get into it. I do like the little fight between Kreese and Johnny as well in this dream
Mhm.
sequence. I like it, the choreography. Um, we got to the frat party and Cobalt Rising Sun. What kind of beer is that? I'm not familiar with this beer, but so this is where the Binary Brothers they're talking to Brooks, and they kind of questioned if he. Well, they go, what did you get on your SAT? He's like catch up, right? So it's a good dialogue here. I feel like I asked you before. Now, are you able to explain like the scores, like the 790, 780, these numbers? They like I don't know.
It's like a math section and a verbal section.
I see.
So you
There's
get
two.
two
Okay.
scores out of 800. 800 would be a perfect
Oh,
score. And so like if you got 790 on math and 780 on verbal, it would be like, um, was that 1570 or something total?
yeah. 1570 SATs is the dialogue, and so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When I think it's Dimitri says I have no word, or maybe just Hawk, but yeah, I wouldn't either. If you're saying 1600 is perfect, 1570
Right.
is freaking amazing. So yeah, that makes a lot more
It's
sense.
good, but it doesn't guarantee you into MIT. Like my
Oh,
friend
okay, yeah.
who got into Stanford because he
Mhm.
applied to MIT undergrad and he had like I think 800 and 780 because he had a
Huh.
perfect on math and like 780 on verbal. But he didn't get into MIT undergrad. He
Yeah.
got rejected, valedictorian. So like
Wow.
yeah, you know, because they that's just the way that the
Yeah.
schools are. So he did eventually end up at Stanford Law, but that was for post grad. Um
Right. Yeah. You got to work hard then, I guess. Work harder.
yeah,
Um,
so it's just more than the scores. But anyway, and so that why like and that's why partially when I see them react like, "Oh, that's amazing." Like, okay, it's amazing, but like it doesn't even guarantee you into MIT anyway, so
right. Um,
whatever.
right. Kyler's talking to Miguel, and Miguel again kind of questions like if he's even sure if he's gonna get into this frat. And like I like this line, like Kyler responds like, "Does a Pope shit with a funny hat?" I mean, I guess, but I was like, there's other people that probably wear funny hats. So shit. But it kind of always saying something funny. Um, this uh, there's a line in here. Do you remember Spaceballs pretty well ish?
hmm As a Star
Okay,
Wars fan, you're required to also know Spaceballs. But yeah, go on.
okay. Don't they say suction mode on? Like, isn't that a line that's also mentioned here somewhere? Get on the ground, empty
Yeah,
the vacuum.
Mother Maid or
Suction mode on is what this guy says. I think it's Zenker to Kyler, and then I was like, oh, is that the line from Spaceballs? Like, I didn't get a chance to go back and look when
I
they
don't think it's a deliberate reference.
okay,
But yeah,
yeah, the whole vacuum thing.
he's just making him be the vacuum.
Right. Yeah. So him just eating like, popcorn and flaming hot Cheetos off the floor. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like the She's All That, right? With the pubes on the pizza, if you saw that. No?
I did not. I elected not to watch She's All That.
Oh yeah, it's you're not missing anything. It did not hold up well as you'd imagine. So I think a lot of people are definitely like, well, that's disgusting. Feel bad for Kyler here in this sequence. But I think this is like one of Joe's best scenes as Kyler. Just the whole
Mhm.
like, oh, what are you talking about, man? And how he reacts. Like Kyler likes to pour things on people. The library to Dimitri and Dr. Bismol and Miguel and
With
now
Pepto
Beer,
Bismol, yeah.
yeah, to
Mhm.
Zenker. And so
Yeah.
this sequence, you like this one?
Yes. I
There's
I mean
a
the
lot to
Kyler
like.
stuff is good. One of the successes, and even though I don't particularly like the storyline, like no one was going into season 6, wow, I wonder what colleges they're gonna go to. Um they do a good job of almost making you feel empathy for Kyler.
Mm,
Which like imagine that back from season 1. Like it's a complete reversal. And Kyler's putting up with this to get into the frat, but it was all a ruse and such.
right.
It's they did a really good job for that, for whatever it's worth. Uh,
Yeah. We cut to the LaRusso house, LaRusso Auto, where Johnny comes and visits Daniel to ask him. Um,
wait,
yeah,
are we
sorry.
covering the fight? Um,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. For some reason, I just thought that we already finished. Yeah. Yes, back to the fight. All I had was
so he
like
pulls
Brooks.
pours the beer, and what happens next, Peter?
Oh yeah, a whole ass fight breakout.
Yeah.
A lot of different things to like here. All the guys are getting in on it. Hawk has that one sequence here. I'm trying to see if I can cue up the thing, but yeah, it's a four versus I don't know how many guys fight here, and one guy gets Brooks right slammed right into the middle of the table.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the end. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I don't know. Did you have any comments on the fight? Like I
I
didn't really
mean,
have
it
any. I
is a
just thought it was a lot of
cool
fun.
fight. Like Kyler starts it off, but the bitch you don't, I know karate, which was in
Hmm.
the trailer, was the most popular line in the trailer for sure. Um, Everyone loved it. Yeah, everyone gets some action in, even Dimitri, who's trying not to fight, but then throws it in and kicks some butt. Hawk kicks butt, obviously, and Miguel. And like, there's even like some team ups, right? I think with Kyler and Miguel. Um,
Yeah,
so it's
there
good.
is.
Yeah, yeah. And I've commented I didn't like the song.
Right.
Um, you said at the beginning, like, oh, it's growing on you. Like, I feel like, I don't know if I would say it's growing on me, but like, I'm able to enjoy the fight a little bit more now on
Yeah.
like the eighth viewing. Like, but I still don't feel like the song pops in a way. I don't know. I think the lyrics are a little odd, and it doesn't quite like go with the action, which I mean, I guess is part of the point. Like, it's just like a cool song.
Mm.
I don't know. It's not my favorite. In fact, it's still probably my least favorite song over any fight. Um,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
I can manage it.
sure, sure. I do like some of the decoration in the background here. There's a sign here, sausage on a stick.
Oh yeah, I
All the
saw that
different
one.
street
Yeah,
signs. Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of like
Mhm.
that. Yeah, they win, and like again, I like to watch like the background people and kind of like wonder what they were instructed. It's like, well. The Miguel and the Binary Brothers, they're the visitors here, and Brooks, and so
Mhm.
most everyone else is probably invited, right, by somebody there or a
Right.
fraternity,
Mhm.
a brother or whatever they're called, and so like nobody else is like obviously rooting for these strangers who are just visiting, and they happen to like kick the asses of like most of the guys there. So
Mhm.
I like that there. We go to the LaRusso Auto, and Johnny needs a little. what does he say? He needs, let's see, just became
One
official Miyagi-Do sensei, but I'm owed
back pay,
some back
yeah.
pay. Yeah, and not entry
And
level.
Chosen's right.
Right. And isn't that something that you feel would have kind of come up? And so here's the other thing. Only today on my last rewatch did I realize, oh, because I kind of mixed up the timeline. I was thinking this came after Johnny already walked in the door in the suit. It hasn't even happened yet. And so
No, no, no.
I'm
This what is what leads to that. Yeah.
correct. And so I am today year old. Is that right? That it just occurred to me that he was talking about the sensei. I keep missing the Miyagi-Do sensei line.
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So always kind of confused me. And then it's like, yeah. Anyway, so this is the whole line about, oh, you think
Well,
I'm
that's
offering
what
him my job,
Chosen's rate means, you know?
right?
Like,
Yeah, yeah. I know. Like I was just like, well, just doesn't work out the rules. I was just confused. And
mm,
the part about the sensei is something I always missed. So
mm.
anyway, um, and so let's see
I like where
here.
he accuses of using free immigrant labor.
Right,
And
right.
I'll point out, and he also uses free child labor. But like the whole Miyagi-Do thing is just a giant scam, like to get around labor laws.
It's a scumbag move,
Yeah,
is what he said.
he is.
Nobody,
He is a car salesman.
right? No, nobody gets paid, according to Daniel. That's the whole spirit of Miyagi-Do.
Yeah.
Um,
His senseis don't get paid. The students do work at the dealership. It's all
that's right. It's all
they're all waxing the
La
cars.
Rudes, huh? I'm
Hmm.
here all week. Um, but yeah, something like that takes time. It is what he tells Johnny in response to like, I need to get my family a killer house. So like I understand this struggle 100%. Um, and then there's this one line about like what's he say here? Um, something
Miyagi. I
about
will say
going to
he's talking about Johnny's talking again. He's using Miyagi-Do stuff, and Daniel's like it's a way of life. And I noted here that that term came up in this episode multiple times now because Kim Sun Young said that
right.
it's a way of life, and now Daniel's saying it too. It's a way of life. So it's just guys, you're listening to the podcast. Karate is a way of life. No matter
It
what
is.
style
Not at
you
all. Yeah.
choose, that will now become your life.
Just getting used to it now, and
Yeah,
then you can
there you
pick a
go.
dojo later. Just understand this, lesson for a whole life. I do like this nod that I feel is about Sheila, where he says, "Okay, great. Should I see your girl out front to cut me a check?" Like, because that's the
Oh,
only,
I didn't
yeah,
combine that with Sheila, but yeah, that
yeah.
could work. Yeah.
Because I was
I
like,
just always thought like there's a girl who cuts a check.
is it maybe he's talking about Louis?
That would be
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, that girl back there, Louis. What's his name? Anyway. And so, yeah, Johnny even tried to say like, I didn't, kick this guy's ass today too. And so like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's good. You didn't just go around, beating
Hmm.
people up. So, um, now there's one thing that Johnny also says that made me kind of like, wait, what? It's when, Daniel tries to tell him about Miyagi-Do, the way of life. He's like, yeah, I know, I said that stuff about Cobra Kai, or I seen the same crap. So like when he
Yeah.
says that, like, do you think that's he said some things that he also didn't believe? I kind of question like why did he think that was crap, or is he like,
I think
well,
it's Johnny's mood in the moment.
okay,
I think it's just
okay,
his mood in the
that's
moment.
fair,
I think he believed it when he said it and would believe it another time. It's just in this moment. He's like, I don't want to hear the Miyagi-Do stuff. Like I gotta get a new place to live, you know.
right, right. Um, let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Um. He
But
Daniel basically tells him that you need to get like a regular 9 to 5.
nine
You
to
know,
five.
yeah,
Yeah.
ditch the gig work, he says. We
Hmm.
cut to a cave. This is a brief scene where, Kreese is with the snake, tells the snake that he's gonna basically take the knife from him, and we cut away before we find out what happens. Um, after that scene. And then we cut to Brucks playing Pac-Man with the Binary Brothers watching over his shoulders. Now, I did ask. Abe Martinez, DP of season six. And do you think the Pac-Man was a nod to Dimitri's suit? Like, I guess he could have gotten any game
You did
if it was
ask him
Pac-Man.
that. No, I don't. I would be curious because if they had Dimitri playing it, it may makes a little bit more sense. But like Brucks is
Mm,
playing it, it's just more like what's kind of some retro game. You know, he said they were supposed to be in like the student union building or something like
right.
so. Like,
Yeah.
what's just some random retro game that would be there? And okay, Pac-Man. You know.
Right. Right. Recently, I got the littles. We were on vacation, and there was a Miss Pac-Man little arcade thing, and they were kind of getting into it. I thought they would get a little frustrated about the ghosts being a little fast, but they are. Those ghosts are fast, I'll tell you.
Hmm.
Um, let's see here. Okay, so yeah, they're talking to Brooks about MIT, and this is where they learned this actually Midwest industrial training. So
Yeah.
a little sigh of relief for them. And I do like Brooks is like, so you want me to make a call or something? Like, would that help though? Like, if this is an actual school, and
No,
uh,
it's if the check clears, you're in.
got it,
You know.
got it, fair enough. Yeah, and then we cut to a really nice scene between Miguel and Kyler as well. Kyler giving some really sound advice, and we kind of get into like Kyler's headspace a little bit, and that's not something that we often get. We kind of get like these jokes that kind of tell you something about like family dynamic or whatnot. But like Kyler is really, he's talking about how like um like his dad was super pissed when he didn't get into any schools, and like there's no joke to this, right? Like this is for real, and this is something that I think a lot of people can also understand. Like feeling whether it's true or not, but like him as a son feels that he disappointed his dad, and so he talked about
Well,
like
and then he follows it up by saying he could have great party school and not his safety party school.
right.
So,
Sure, yeah, and but also he talked about like being an idiot, and so
mhm.
like maybe that's this goes to why he can get into the schools. He slacked off a lot, but yeah, he gives some pretty sound advice. Talking about like like you just said, the whole the safety party school, which makes um Miguel, at least I feel is going to make Miguel think like, okay, the safety stuff, like a college of the valley, will always be here. Shoot
Mhm.
high, aim high, and shoot your shot. Kind of go for it, kind of thing. So like that, you got to chase after the damn dream. You know.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about this other house that comes over and it basically tells, "Hey, Kyler, you're in as long as you continue to be that badass."
It wraps up this story nicely. He gets into a cool frat, where no hazing, um
They need a bodyguard,
which yeah, they need a bodyguard, yeah.
or he's working like the front door. You know, like, hey, I mean, hey, we said no hazing, but this is what we need you to do, man. Sorry. No, but
You
yeah,
still got to
hopefully,
work. It's just no
right,
hazing.
like
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Hopefully, it is like a nice wrap up for Kyler's character,
Yeah,
but it doesn't end with a joke.
this could be Kyler's swan song. I don't know. But it's a nice way wrap up. Yeah, the storyline. We
Right.
see him in the other side, the one being bullied or taken advantage of. But he comes out, gives some good advice, and gets the frat at his safety party school.
Right. And then we cut to Lusa Auto, where Johnny returns wearing the suit that we've seen in season one and three. Was it
Hmm.
when he's looking for a job with
Yeah.
sunglasses on and basically wants to be a car salesman? Um, he comes
No,
in and
apparently
then
he's
like,
already hired. Remember, he's not wants to
r-
be.
yes, but my question is like, how quick he sells this car? I don't want to think like, oh, is there a deleted scene where he hired this lady and, just come in and say these things like, oh, I'm going to tell my whole family to come here. But it's right. Isn't it a little oddly quick how, he sold his car,
I,
new car?
when I was rewatching it, yeah, I always thought the same thing. Like even if he really had her, doesn't he have to like negotiate the price, figure out her financing, But then I thought like because it cuts to Daniel and Amanda, it like maybe Amanda was with something, so Daniel sat in his office for 20 minutes before Amanda came in, and then they chit chatted about it
Okay.
all, and So let's
All right.
say Johnny had 30 minutes
Right.
to sell the
Yeah.
car, which is still really fast, but hey, he won the lady over. He told her she'd look hot in it.
Oh, and sometimes that can go a long way. And, and maybe she already went in like thinking, I will leave here with a car. It's a matter of which one and which color,
Hmm.
perhaps. Sometimes it's just as simple as that too. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I guess yeah, I kind of misspoke there at the beginning because I kind of forget. Like Johnny walks in, he's like, where do I park my briefcase?
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, he's already got the job. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, the idea of like I don't know. I guess what other job do you give him, right? But because like Amanda was like, oh, just give him Robbie's old job. It's like I don't know if think Johnny would be okay doing that. Like,
No, it was kind of a basic. I mean, before the
okay,
season came out, I was saying, well, I think Johnny makes sense working in the shop. Like he seems like he knows cars, so like I could see him being like in the shop as a repair guy.
right,
Um,
yeah,
it doesn't work for the show though because we need Johnny and Daniel constantly clashing.
right,
If Johnny's under the car working on it, he's not clashing with Daniel. So okay, and like I'll buy Johnny whatever. He's good at like telling people they'll look hot, which apparently is his selling tactic. Now
yeah.
I wonder maybe I should use that more myself.
We cut back to Korea. We got Sensei Kim kind of pacing back and forth, a little upset with her grandfather, who sent Kreese on a journey to die, basically.
No,
Kind
he sent him
of.
to face death.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm
Interesting.
sorry. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The words matter. They do matter.
Well,
It,
that's
it,
what Kim says, or
you
Sun Young
sent
says.
him to die.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
sent him to die. I sent him to face death. There's a difference.
Yes. Hmm.
See, Master Kim agrees. There's a difference.
Hmm.
So yeah, he shows up, and there's well, I guess the snake's head is what we ended with, but he shows up. Um, it's not about the prize; it's about eliminating what stands in the way, which he did,
Hmm.
and we see the snake head. That did gross me out a little bit. It's almost like seeing not roadkill, but like a mauled animal by like a coyote or something. Like it was just kind of I was
Mm.
like, ew, and I'm sure that's what they were going with.
Yeah.
Um, and that's pretty much it. And Snake. Did you have anything else to add to that
Yeah.
moment?
Well, one part about the Johnny when he got the job or
Oh,
something,
yeah.
because he's talking to Danielle. Um, eh, he didn't get the house, right? So we had the section with yeah, what was it? Little Timmy, DJ Candy Corn.
Stevie.
Um Stevie. And he's like, "Oh, I got a house for you, like you get your credit or something, you can have this house." And then
He's going to funeral him
you
too.
get your hopes up, and then it's like at the end, he's like, "Well, I ended up not getting the house." And I was like, "Well, shit, what the hell was the point of all this?" Like, I mean, I guess the point is to get him at LaRusso Auto, but I don't know, it
Uh,
felt like a little bit of a letdown to me.
well, no,
Although,
I don't know if little Stevie would come back, but I feel
oh,
when they
I
do
think
get
this will come back because
this will come back. Yes, I don't think
yeah,
Stevie will, but will be
he'll
mentioned. Right.
mention, like he mentioned he has other houses, so I figure
Right.
this comes up in part three somewhere. We'll
Something like
see.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's stuff I think. All right. So that's pretty much it for the review. And as I have been doing recently, is reaching out for feedback from the Facebook group, the Companion Network group on Facebook. So here are some of the feedback from the members. The first one is from Jeff E. Who says, I enjoyed this episode so much. It was nice to actually enjoy Kyler instead of him always being, albeit funny, jackass. And he actually gave some wise advice to Rhea. I enjoyed seeing Brooks again too. I really didn't quite get the Kreese storyline. I mean, I know what they were trying to get across with the homage to the Dagobah cave in Return of the Jedi, but I just found it unnecessary. So we've kind
Yeah,
of said
I
colors of
don't
that.
think it's a direct homage to Dagobah or Empire's Strike. I mean, like it's like the hero vision quest. Oh, this is something I meant to bring up. Um, it's so this is like it's part of like a hero journey, like the vision quest or something, where he makes a decision or something. In But what's interesting about this show or this episode is usually it's your hero. Like so in the Dagobah that everyone talks about in Empire Strikes, it's Luke going on that, and he has to confront. his death, his fear, whatever, in this vision quest. But what we have here is we have presumably the show's villain or bad guy,
Right.
Kreese, going on the vision quest. Something that's normally reserved for the hero.
Hmm.
Um, what do we make of this? Are we positioning Kreese as a hero in season 6? Are we just sort of flipping the script and now it's our villain has to, find this vision quest to become a better villain? Uh,
It might be that.
which is how you would say he killed his weakness, which was Johnny.
Right.
Um,
And was it Josh or Hayden? Like somebody that talked about like Creed kind of returning to like, you know, being like the villain or whatever, right? Like
mhm,
nope, he is just straight up bad now. Like he got his weakness out of the way and now he's got the eye on the prize, right? Like now he's just
mhm.
full force and
Sounds
possibly
like something Hayden would say, actually, but
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I saw that somewhere. You're probably right. It was probably Hayden. Um, and I think it was like the headline of an article, so um yeah, so yeah, this is supposed to be Kreese without the weakness, without the well, I guess it's also going to be interesting how he continues to treat a Tory, so it's going to be interesting, right? So is it going to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
that same dynamic that we have seen previously? Because now that Johnny is no longer his weakness, is he still going to have that quote unquote that soft spot, for these kids with the broken homes, like I'm gonna say broken homes, but you guys know what I mean, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
something interesting to keep an eye on. The next one comes from Ron. He says, I really liked seeing Kyler and Miguel and the rest of the guys just drop their old beef and hang out as if they were always friends. Um, and that's to kind of what you've been saying about like low stakes, right?
Hmm.
Let's see. It was great to see Miguel stand up for Kyler as opposed to standing up to him, and to see all the guys, Kyler, Miguel, Brooks, and the Binary Brothers fight together on the same side. I don't know why that made me so happy, but I think it's because the show captured something that happens in real life but doesn't get portrayed on TV very often. Not everyone holds grudges forever and reignites those grudges upon seeing their old nemesis again, like Johnny and Daniel did. Sometimes just moving on with your life and seeing that your former nemesis has moved on with theirs is enough to squash any problems you might have had in the past. I like that.
Hmm.
Actually, I've never even considered that.
You've never
Yeah,
considered just moving on with your life and not worrying about your old nemesis? Do you still hate your
well,
nemesis?
with a
What
passion.
it take with a passion? You see that
Yeah.
nemesis. It's odd.
Yeah. Anyway, the next one comes from my buddy Phil, who joined me on the season 6 part 1 recap. It was
Ah,
what? I said it
oh, yeah,
correctly, right?
I know. I listened to that.
Okay. Well, for those that maybe didn't listen to it, he says it was so Cobra Kai of them to hype up this challenge for Kreese to do, only to have it be this underdramatic scene with a snake in a cave. But a
Hmm.
highlight for me was Kyler. It was cool seeing him in the fight scene, but even cooler seeing him get a moment to display some growth as a character and give Miguel some advice to not settle, especially at the stage in his life where they can dream and aren't tied down by responsibilities yet, unlike Johnny, who may need to settle because of his upcoming responsibilities as a father and provider.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I will
oh, let me
say
see.
like about that cave sequence, what he just said, hype up this thing and it's underwhelming is, there's a theory right in writing, and if you ever listen, John talks about this. Anyone will, let's say, oh, well, we always want to keep the focus on the character, right? Oh, that's the
Mhm.
most important thing. What's the story with the characters? And that's like what they're doing here, but like they took it too far to the point where like they're focused on Kreese's character and overcoming his weakness with Johnny and this and recognizing his weakness and then killing that weakness and to get to the prize, taking out everything that's standing in his way to the prize. We're focused on the character. Okay, but like you set it up as this huge, interesting quest that you just threw out the window. And that was kind of disappointing, I think, for a lot of us fans. And I think that's what he was saying there. And what happened in this episode.
Yeah. The next one comes from Rose, a really, really brief one. She said, love seeing the frenemies work together. The next
Mhm.
one comes from Mikey. He says, love the opening flashback in Korea. Young Kreese literally risking his head at the hands of his master just to ensure that young Kim Dae-yeon has a future. Meanwhile, Terry Silver cowering in the background does absolutely nothing to save his friend. You know, I forget about that. And I actually did at one point just watch Nick Marini, like kind of standing in the background. And he does a lot of like, just kind of reacting and looking at Kreese or the character of Silver just looking at Kreese and just like, dude, what are you doing? So that's kind of like the read I get. But you're right, yeah, he's not doing much back there. Um, this would explain Kim Dae-yeon's general dislike of Silver. Oh, there you go. In season 5, and why she's disappointed when Kreese is not at the airport. You know what?
Mhm.
There you go. I didn't even think about like young, Sensei Kim and what she might have been thinking about Silver at that point. I just thought it might be other things, but I mean, this is definitely that parts of it. Let's see here. The next one we got is from Dorian. He says, "Finally, the what happened to Brucks mystery is solved." Nice, close to his character arc. I was kind of hoping Kyler would have called Miguel Diaz instead of Ria. Oh well, he is who he is. What do you think about that in terms of like the nickname? Like that's what Kyler's always called him though.
Yeah,
But he's
they're kind of like bros
now,
now. So you know what
yeah.
and that happens for a lot of people. What was this insult now just almost becomes like your name or almost a term of endearment,
I was about to say that
So
now it's more
yeah,
of a term
yeah,
endearment as opposed to like a diss from the season 1.
right, right,
And at least he's not like saying it as a joke, like they're having a really good, right? Well, I
yeah.
mean, I guess there were parts, but still, um, but I didn't mind that too much. Young Kreese still had some honor in the scene defending Little Kim. He says Kim Dae-yeon, but I'm trying to like not saying that so much. But I think Master Kim killed what was left of it. Okay, the honor. He's talking about the honor. The idea of cutting out weakness is flawed logic from the way of the fist. You can't. Kreese can try to cut out Johnny as his weakness, but then another one will prop up. Kim Dae-yeon and Tori. Something tells me that Kreese's i- biggest weakness is worst enemy of all, himself. Do you agree? His
Um,
his
well,
weakness,
maybe
his
not with the
biggest weakness.
conclusion. Um, but you can argue is Tori's weakness? I don't know. Like, was it? Uh,
He thinks, I mean,
like
yeah, I
it's
wouldn't say,
yeah. I talked about it at the beginning. Like it's Kreese has this side where he empathizes with maybe people who lost a parent or had this really rocky or troubled home life.
mhm.
Um, and he's a little bit more protective of them. Um, it's only a weakness if you're viewing it the way Kim Sun Young did. And that's what Kim Sun Young, said. You didn't learn the lesson if you're here asking for mercy. So Sun Young would view it as weakness. I'm not sure I view it as weakness. So
Right. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Dorian, for that. The next one comes from Anne, and this is an interesting one. I've seen her mention this a few times on social media. She says Kim Dae-yeon's gi was tied backwards the entire episode. The only episode where it's backwards, and everyone else's gi is tied correctly. WTF, Frank? What does it mean? With an
little Kim or old Kim?
old
Was it
Kim.
old Kim?
And
Old?
she provided examples. She has a bunch of screenshots from 602 where her gi is closed right over left. Everyone else
Oh,
in episode 2, whole series left over right. And then she shows a screenshot of episode 3 where it's worn correctly. So I don't know if I would blame Frank for that. I know he's wardrobe, but like, isn't there someone else to make sure that the gis are on properly?
well, you know what
Right?
could
Like
happen is
a
she
reverse
did it in
shot
one
or
shot. Like
hmm.
you did it in one shot, and now you have to match it. Um,
Oh, okay, continuity.
because like so now you have to do it in all of them because it's
Hmm.
all supposed to be like the same day or at least the same sequence or whatever. Um,
Yeah, that'd
yeah,
be a
I
good
feel like
question. I could
we had this discussion somewhere else
probably social
about
media.
like yeah, I don't know. I like it's suddenly striking a memory about that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
maybe I could ask Joel and
Mhm.
see if he can give any insight on that.
Mhm.
Uh, let's see here. Okay, and then she actually continued with her actual thoughts. Besides the gay fiasco, I really enjoyed former bullies having fun at the frat party. Father Miguel hugging. Never thought we'd ever see that. And Brooks living his best life post karate games and winning karate prizes. Stoked pursue higher education at MIT. Love Dimitri's delivery of "I have no words" when he thought Brooks scored a 1570. And while he sucks at
Mhm.
math, I love the callback to 104 where he remembered it was needed for the object of a proposition, and 500 of his 750 score was in English. Okay, see that makes more sense to me now because you broke down like math score and English
Right.
score. Okay. I
And
also
he is better in English, which is
that makes a
from
lot of
going
sense.
back
You're
to
right.
episode season one. Yeah.
And for
So,
context, I don't. I feel like I might have mentioned it before. Anne is a teacher, so that's
mm,
so yeah.
mhm.
She continues. I also enjoyed the house hunting misadventures of Johnny and Chosen. Johnny taking a beat and not beating up the asshole realtor shows a lot of growth, and he was rewarded with the adulation of Jerry's brother's friend's little brother Stevie. Thanks for pointing out he wasn't obliterated. I couldn't quite place where I'd seen him before. We also learned Sid is still alive. Interesting. And she has more. Um, See, I enjoyed the Kreese quest a lot less though. So Master Kim has got to be over 100 years old, which isn't too improbable, I guess. I found the Star Wars parallel a little eye-rolly. Perhaps it's because I don't watch the show for Kreese. Also, didn't love him choking out Johnny again and breaking his neck, though I appreciate the symbolism. One positive of this whole scene is, before this, I could have predicted how it would play out when Kreese and Johnny eventually saw each other in the second Tekai, but now I don't know. Um, Forgot to mention, Johnny got his job at the Russo Auto Pharma for his car salesman. Comment in the previous episode, question mark. Johnny's desire to get paid for teaching is 100% valid. For Daniel to teach karate for free and charge no dues may be admirable and help the kids who can't afford it, but it's insensitive to expect Johnny to get a second job so he can pursue his true passion. I agree with
Mhm.
that too, absolutely. Taking advantage of free labor in the name of Mr. Miyagi kind of sucks. But I did love the return of the ugly brown suit and Amanda whimsically taking bets on what's in the piece. Yeah. Um, let's see. Thank you, Anne, for all of that. Really great as always.
Good one. Mhm.
Randy, he says, I never thought there would be an episode where I'd be rooting for Kyler. The dude is still a douchebag. I'd agree with that, but a lovable douchebag. The Brooks MIT reveal was rather predictable, but still a rather satisfying way to bring some closure to the tension between him and the Binary Brothers. Speaking of which, was it me or did Miguel and the Binary Brothers' style of fighting seem more offensive rather than defensive? Perhaps Kyler and crew naturally tend to bring out the inner eagle in each of them. You know what? I did not take notice, but I bet that's there, and that's also like yeah, influence on Eagle Fang and Johnny's Cobra Kai, right? So um,
Yeah.
which is still an extension, to
Right.
Eagle Fang, but and like kind of like hearing a lot of people's thoughts and reviewing this episode, I do like the school stuff a lot better, and I have been like every time I've been rewatching to take notes, I've taken a lot of like little breaks here and there to finish all the notes. I couldn't do it in one sitting, and so every time I revisit, I'm like, man, I really like this stuff more and more of that. So. And the last piece of feedback comes from JS. He says, probably one of the weaker episodes this season so far. These guys are just buddy buddy with Kyler now. Pretty cool, I guess. Like the cameo from the chef from the movie Accepted. Ah, yes. I knew I recognized him from somewhere. Johnny not stalking that guy reminds me of Robbie and Tori at the probation office. Right.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Balled up fist, ready to strike, only to think first and then release. Miyagi-Do at its finest, am I right? Not really buying Freeze has shed his Johnny weakness, just a feeling it'll come back in the season, and then that part of the episode will be essentially useless. And last note, Master Kim is an immortal. Uh, Infinite emojis. So thank you everybody for all really great
Good
feedback
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're going to be going on a little bit of a break. So we probably won't get to episode 3 at least for like another week or so. So some time there for people in the Facebook group to leave feedback. I'll be making a post shortly. I have a couple episodes that need to be edited. I have to put it out. I mentioned the one with Cody over at Strike First Media. I have
Hmm.
my discussion with him. I got an interview with Khalil and Aiden that I need to get to as well, and still got a couple other interviews scheduled that will be coming. So just a little idea of what's to come in the near future. What do you got on the docket for you?
I want to get to some more, people are asking for more theories about part two. And so I got a lot of stuff. I've just haven't been able to get to it. And
Oh,
then I'm going on a trip, but
yeah.
I will definitely, as soon as I able to buckle down and get more and more out, it will be coming. And then hopefully Geek Week will give us a surprise.
I hope so. I hope so. It'll give us something. And I
Hmm.
know some people. I posed a question like, "What are you hoping to come out of Geek Week?" For the Cobra Kai fans, and a few people were definitely like, "You know what? I'll take anything at this point." And I'm kind of right there
Yeah, I
too.
think many,
So
yeah, for sure. Many will.
just we'll take something.
Yeah.
All right. And for you, you can be found at Watch Party One on X/Twitter and Instagram.
Mm.
Watch. Well, is it the same for your YouTube name? I mean, because you can type in Watch Party,
Yeah, YouTube introduced handles or something where you
Yeah.
can put in at Watch Party One, so it's like the
Okay,
same.
so
Or
same.
you could
Okay,
just
so
search Watch Party. It's
if
same
you
thing.
type in Watch Party Cobra Kai, more likely. But I know like Watch Party is kind of hard just because there's so many, you know, watch parties. Because I know that like I specifically have to type in Cobra Kai before I subscribed. So for me, Cobra Kai Pod on Twitter, Cobra Kai Companion with a K on Instagram. And until the next episode, nah, it's more like the school goes to me. You know what I mean?